Good morning. Good morning. This is Best Ball Whenever, and I am here with Scott Barrett, co-host of the Outside the Box DFS podcast during DFS season. Good friend of mine. Always happy to have Scott on the channel. We always have good conversations. I never leave one of these streams with Scott without learning quite a bit. And this time I can tease that Scott is coming out with a series of articles soon that he's been working on with Ryan Heath, another great at Fantasy Points, another great writer at Fantasy Points. These guys just do tons of research, put the data to good use, and they're coming out with a bunch of articles, position by position, I presume. Scott, can you tell us a little bit about these articles that you and Ryan have coming out soon?
Yeah, so Ryan Heath, I refer to him unironically as the golden boy. He's just like
He does. I hear it all the time.
constantly exceeding my expectations. I kept saying like the only way it could work if I'm the CEO of the company and also doing all my content obligations is if I found a way to clone myself. And we brought Ryan on last year, and it just clone myself and then some. He's just like knocking everything out of the park. And so this is kind of the same thing. Is we have a lot going on at Fantasy Points. I don't want to give too much away, but like major overhaul to the data suite. Like we firmly believe that's a $15,000 a year product. Like look at our competition. They're charging $15,000 a year. And we think we're right there, if not better. And it's only $200 a year. And we are rolling out massive changes. We are player pages, which is what everyone asked for. We are adding a number of new tools, a number of new stats, and the GOAT stat. I don't want to give too much away for free, but it's like the one thing everyone's asking for. We should have that within the next month or so. I've been talking about this for like 6 or 7 years, where it's just like, this would be the GOAT wide receiver stat. This is like literally all you ever need to look at is this. And I think we're going to have it. We're upgrading the Fantasy Points League Importer, the Fantasy Points Generator, really valuable tools to help you in your redraft leagues. And so anyway, yeah, this is kind of the same thing where it's like people are asking for underdog value picks. You have that from Graham Barfield and Hilo, who are kind of running our best ball show or best ball product, but you're asking for it from me. And so what I did was I just spent a lot of time with ADP after our last show, highlighted what I thought were the best values, the must draft picks. I gave a few of them away on our stream. Jonathan Brooks at running back, Deontay Johnson at wide receiver, et cetera. It's Jaden Daniels at quarterback. And I wanted to loop in Ryan Heath and get his thoughts. And there was a shocking amount of overlap between the players I pulled and the players he pulled. And then there were relatively few disagreements, but the disagreements were, like he was like, yeah, I don't really know about Bo Nix or Aaron Rodgers here. And like, I was kind of on the fence about those either. So I gave him veto power, and like maybe a few of them he vetoed. And I was like, all right, you're right. Few vetoed. I'm like, no, I'm just going to keep them in there. And it was the same thing on his end. And then, I wrote, 50% or more my guys, he wrote the other. And then we also tweaked each other's blurbs. And so it was really like a melding of the minds things, where I think this article is going to be great. So you're going to have quarterbacks. Here's our 3 must draft quarterbacks. Here's 5 really strong values. And here's 3, sort of fringe values. And then we did that for all 4 major positions. This should be dropping at the end of this week or early next week. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Again, like I think this is my biggest edge. Like even, the biggest Scott Barrett haters in the world will say, well, he's really good at player analysis. He's really good at like highlighting. And it's even like when I'm wrong, like you're talking about June, like I'm really good at identifying players whose ADP is going to skyrocket in the next few months. And I think that's going to be a case with a lot of these names. So, I was unprepared for our last show. Like I said, I've only done the only best ball drafts I've done have been with you. And so now at least we have like your circle, your draft sheet players, which is like how you should be entering any draft, a best ball draft, a redraft. Is there should be players you circle, just extreme values with immense upside that you should more or less be building your draft around. And so now we have those. You took a sneak peek look at these articles, so some of these names. And yeah, now we're going to win the millie. We the last few practice swings, and this is the draft. We're going to win a millie.
We're gonna win 1.5 milli to be specific. I mean, it's only 750,000 a piece, so right. We are gonna have to split it. But 1.5 billion is gonna feel pretty good. And to be clear, you are doing this for Underdog specifically. So like you're looking at Underdog ADPs, and you're going to come out with the best values for Underdog best ball drafts. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. So
Oh yeah,
looking at half point PPR, looking at Underdog ADP, yeah, and then we'll probably do follow ups with DraftKings ADP best ball, FFPC best ball, but yeah, right now this is just Underdog, and so at least now I think I have a better sense of ADP because I remember there were a few players who was like, oh, this guy, yeah, let's take this guy, he's awesome, and then I'll see someone 4 rounds later, I'm like, oh damn, we shouldn't have taken that guy, we should have taken this guy.
right. So you'll, yeah, it is helpful. I mean, I think a lot of like these early drafts, it doesn't really often make sense to be drafting super early, but it is good to get your reps in. So just having like a couple drafts on your belt will help you in terms of being prepared for where you can get players in the drafts. Should be really useful. And we'll talk about a lot of the players that you like as we get to them in our drafts. I have just uploaded some rankings, but I know you like to. We're mostly going to be drafting off of ADP. I know that is the way you like to do it. We can jump into a draft. I learned yesterday, Scott, that I need to give like a 10-second warning before I get into a draft. I thought it was more like 3-second delay. I didn't realize there's a 10-second delay in these drafts. So I'm going to click into it right now, and I am right now. I'm going to be entering a draft. So if you want to get in, enter the draft right now. I'm going to delay very briefly so we can get in at the same time. People want to draft with us. This feels about right now. Oh yeah, good. Plenty of spaces for people to get into the draft with us. Yeah, I did not realize there's that much of a delay for us. Yeah, Tyler says 10-second delay before you turn me on. Ooh. Yeah. Thank you all for coming, hanging out with us. Yes, GM, Birdoggy, Jeremy, Bindles, Lundar. Good to have you here. Pat Joyce, Fantasy Football Garage, Beast, man, a lot of big crew here hanging out with us. Hopefully, some of you are going to draft with us as well. When does the league winner divining rod tool? Yeah, do you have a league winner divining rod tool?
So I'll have my draft guide coming out maybe end of July. And that's where I detail my Exodia plays, which I've been doing for a number of years, which is basically just like the players you have to draft, but more than that, like the players where like you draft them, you could just log out of your draft. You've just automatically won. It's a painfully nerdy Yu-Gi-Oh reference. And so I'll have all of my Exodia plays in that draft guide. I'm going to try not to give away too many before then. Just I hate that is like I'll tweet someone out and then ADP just climbs 3 rounds.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try and more so than previous years, try and keep that under lock and key until the draft guide. But even then, like you'll see the draft guide drops and then like, a famous analyst hasn't been talking about this player once, like 0 tweets. And then the next 2 weeks just does nothing but hype up this player as like the must draft. And then you lose some of your edge and you hate to see that. So
yeah, there are a few market movers out there who, yeah, you gotta hold some of it to yourself before you do move the markets. You should just whisper in my ear who I should be drafting
right.
in the weeks before you come out with that.
Well, I will just say, yeah, but again, like best ball is so different than redraft. Like one of the most important things, maybe I brought this up in the last show, but like I think about this constantly. And so like in redraft, the most important position by a landslide is running back. That's not to say like 0RB doesn't have credence. It does, because that's a component of being able to find high-end running backs later in your draft. But just like throwing out ADP, just like who's determining the winner or loser of your league, it's typically high-end running backs. And in best ball, that's not really the case. It really does make a lot of sense to go later round running back. In 2020, Aaron Jones finishes the RB3 in PPR. And then Nyheim Hines and JD McKissick finish RB23 and RB24. But just taking the higher scorer each week and ignoring production that could have went into the flex. So just those two players, whoever had the higher score in any given week, combined to outscore Aaron Jones, the RB3. And so this is, volatility, remember, in best ball is actually a good thing. Where in like redraft, it's a bad thing. You were probably just not guessing the right weeks for those players and start sit. Yeah. You can't combine them into one player. And so that's important. So yeah, definitely have to factor in spike weeks, which we all know. And devalue certain positions relative to others when playing in the best ball format. And, it's spike week ceilings from a CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown are so rare that it really does make sense. To me, you want to just scroll down a little bit? We
Yeah.
talked about this in the last episode, but yeah, so it's Christian McCaffrey, Breece Hall, and then really those 5 wide receivers. And then there's, to me, a gigantic teardrop.
I got to sort by ADP here. Basically, it's already essentially
Okay.
sorted by ADP. Okay.
Yeah, so it's CMC, Breece Hall, those 5 wide receivers. Then a huge teardrop, it feels to me. Like, I like Bijan, he's fine. And so we got stuck with like the 110, 112, but luckily we're kind of at the tail end of this tier this time around, which I like to see.
So we got the 6 hole here.
Yeah.
I guess we can.
I did a study at one point where it's like the most profitable places to draft from over the previous 5 years. And granted, this was a few years ago, but 106 is the most profitable. And maybe that's just because you would think it's 101, 102, but maybe there's some bad injury luck there. But the argument could be for best ball. It's just like a great place to find falling values, which is just like one of the massive edges you need to be exploiting when drafting, just because you want the cheapest cost associated throughout your portfolio of each player. And it just shows that, like, ADP is pretty good. And like, if you can get a guy who falls well past ADP, that's really going to help your team. You're more unique as well. All that other stuff.
That is really interesting that it's the 6 hole has been the most profitable. I would have guessed the ends, but I think that makes sense that it is, like, because of, like, if you're drafting the 1 hole or the 12 hole, like, you need to be getting your guys. You can't be like pushing values. Oh, we gotta. How do you feel about? I mean, I know you're a Breece Hall guy. Is that who you want to go with here over Jefferson and Bijan?
No, I'm cool with Jefferson. I always tell you to draft wide receivers, and or running backs, and I regret it by like round 7. So
Right.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it right this time.
Hell yeah. We got a few people in the draft here. Jeremy says that he is in the 12th spot. So Jeremy, is that the icon? Yeah, Jeremy is the icon. I did not know that was you. Good to know. Beast Birth in here.
Theacon?
You're right. It is probably Theacon. I didn't even think about it that this is Theacon. We got Mr. here, TM Longacre. Do I know anybody else here? I don't think I know. Let me know if you're in here with us. But that's really interesting. So do you think that's sticky year over year, the 6 hole being like the most profitable, or is that just based on that just happened to be what happened those specific years that you were looking at? Because I could see it going either way. Like, it wouldn't be that shocking to me if it is like you get the values in those middle holes. What do you think?
Yeah, it's hard to say because, again, I did this multiple years ago. And it could have changed. It could have just been variance, like David Johnson getting hurt when he was the 101, Christian McCaffrey getting hurt when he was the 101, and all that other stuff. But it just like logically makes sense. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I did this study again and 106 came away offering the most expected value. But like in every draft is its own unique special snowflake. Like, if I had to guess for 2024, I would say 101 holds by far the most positive expected value, because I think Christian McCaffrey is like easily the 101 over anyone else, just because of how scarce a highest end bell cow running back is, and just his proven track record and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I could see that. Do you have any concerns with, and this is something that I've been saying I'd like to see a study on. I don't know that I've seen a study on. So you hear about like age cliffs for running backs. What I'd like to know, and maybe this is something I know you've done a lot of studies that I don't know about. I'd like to hear like a touches cliff. Like, is there a cliff for like after a certain number of touches, a running back is more likely to fall off the following year as opposed to age, just like based on pure volume? Like, Christian McCaffrey has had so many touches. There comes a point where I start to worry a little bit about running backs, and Christian McCaffrey, kind of falls in that bucket of like, man, he's just had so much usage for so long. It's probably just unpredictable. Is that something actually, let's make our pick first. So by ADP, it would be Devontae Adams, Nico Collins, Deebo Samuel. Anybody you like here?
I
Jalen Waddle.
probably like Waddle the most, but I'm cool
Let's do
with
it. He's been rising. He's been rising up drafts.
Yeah. So Ryan made a great argument for him. And he was on my list as well. He ranked second among all players in XFP per route run last season. His route share wasn't that high, and that was really just fluky injury after fluky injury. He dealt with multiple injuries, left multiple games early. They were really limiting him in terms of route share because of the injuries. Tyreek had a tweet earlier in the season where he said, dude, Jaden Waddle's the future. Like, he's way better than
Yeah.
I was at his age and all this other stuff. I just believe in the talent. Massive like XFP regression candidate for a player who every other season dating back to college was like easily a top 3 wide receiver in football in terms of efficiency. But to answer your previous question, yeah, I will say when looking at touches, for whatever reason, running back carries are more detrimental to shortening your career than
Yeah.
receptions. I'll also say that the age cliff rather than the touch cliff seems more predictive. But
Okay.
even then, Hall of Fame caliber running backs age more gracefully. You look at the Emmitt Smiths of the world, you look at the Frank Gores of the world, you look at the Curtis Martins of the world, et cetera. And it's just running backs who are built different. Just these same things don't really apply. Can you pull up ADP just so we're not caught off guard again?
Yeah.
I like Henry. I just put out a thread on Henry. I don't like him as much as that thread implies. But I do just think he's like a strong value here in the half PPR format. I detailed multiple, again, it's the same thing. Like, running backs are built different, you know, throw out the age curves don't really matter as much, but yeah, the most game script sensitive player in fantasy football history just joined the team that led the league in percentage of plays leading when Titans ranked bottom 7 by the same stat. Baltimore's offensive line, they lost 3 starters, is probably just middle of the pack, but like the Titans offensive line was literally worst the last 3 seasons. So that's still a major upgrade for him. Harbaugh has made it clear, like, doesn't really look like a committee. Keaton Mitchell's coming back from a serious injury. He's 190 pounds, 5'8". He's like a 6 touch guy, I think, in his best case scenario. Harbaugh loves to feature the running backs inside the red zone. People talk about Lamar hurting him, and I just don't see it that way. Konami code quarterbacks are a cheat code for the running backs in the sense that the added stress they put on the opposing defense really bolsters their ground game efficiency. All defenses were doing were stacking the box against Derrick Henry. You can't really do that against the Ravens. The new hip drop tackle rule is like designed for Derrick Henry. Like, good luck tackling this guy now.
Impossible.
And so it's just like this 9 point argument because there are just so many things in his favor. Again, he's not must draft for me. He's not blowing me away or anything, but he's just a strong value. And so I like him there.
I haven't drafted a ton because I'm such a 0 RB guy, but I read your little piece on Derrick Henry, and you did sell me on him a little bit. I do think that he's clearly a guy who could, like, if I set the over under at 14 and a half touchdowns, like, do you have to think about that? Like, I feel like he's so locked in. He's going to have such a strong role for Baltimore. So I don't hate taking him when I'm drafting with you, getting my shares of Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I also like to have an RB1. I feel pretty strongly about, and then hopefully this lets us go more
sort by ADP RB here. So we have Derrick
Amari
Henry,
Cooper, Christian Kirk.
Cooper goes.
I really wanted Cooper, but can you just click on wide receiver?
Yeah.
So Kirk, Keenan, and then Pacheco.
All right.
You can kind of make this call.
Let's go Kirk. I don't want to go get too behind at wide receiver right away. We can't go for week 6 buys anymore, Scott. I know you're not a bye week bro, but I am such a bye week bro. We take 2 bye week 6 wide receivers to start the draft. Now we got to start making up for that also.
Yeah. So Kirk, obviously, you lose Calvin Ridley, you replace him with Gabe Davis, you lose Zay, you replace him with Brian Thomas, who like I wasn't that high on. I just thought he was raw.
Oh,
At least
really?
that impacts. I mean, he was my wide receiver 4, but I just laundry list of issues I had with it. I just think he's going to be raw. I think he could struggle this year to be anything more than just a deep threat, clear out option, which is good for Kirk. Really seems to be Trevor Lawrence's boy. Like on Instagram, they're posting like double dates constantly and stuff like
Oh
that.
man, you're doing the research that I wasn't even thinking about doing.
Right.
Instagram research.
But yeah, Pacheco, Pacheco at that price might have been even better pick than Derrick Henry. Um, uh, Chris Wecht really loves him in his projections, and then Ryan Heath kind of detailed a great argument where it's just like um, people forget like how much Jerick McKinnon was used inside the red zone by snap share, and so yeah, good chance to beat out Henry even, and seems to be in a great spot. Keenan Allen, I wouldn't be shocked if he leads Chicago in targets this year. It really wouldn't surprise me. So Pacheco's back there.
Yeah. Do we just
like
do it? All right. We got 3 receivers, and we are kind of boxed out of receivers at this point that we really want. So Pacheco works for me.
So yeah, and Etienne was a good value there as well. Maybe better ADP value. I'd have to double check Chris's projections, but I just know Pacheco was definitely one of his guys. And yeah, and hopefully this isn't the case where 4 rounds from now I'm like, God damn, why'd we take
why did we take so many?
That happens every single time.
It could very well happen once again, and this definitely seems to be a piss boy room. Everybody's taking wide receivers. I guess we only have the one spot there that has 4 wide receivers to start, so maybe it's not the biggest piss boy room, but we were pretty boxed out of receiver already there. Looking at chat, what is going on, James? Thanks for joining. You just referred to you like to get a running back early. That's kind of your anchor. And Billy asked, Scott, are you into 0/hero RB this year, or are you planning on pushing back with some hyper fragile builds? What are you thinking, Scott?
Remind me what hyper fragile is.
Hyper fragile would be so I think of hyper fragile as being like not taking many players from that position, but I think what he might be referring to is or pushing back with some. So that would be drafting running backs early, but then only taking like 4 of them. I would call hyper fragile.
Oh, right. I think this is a Mike Beers thing.
Yeah, he is right. Okay,
I think I would experiment with just about everything, but just to me, looking at not just like historical track records, because again, like every year is its own special, unique snowflake. I just see so much value at the running back position later that probably like a 0-ish RB makes more sense. But I do like getting a running back I feel good about as my RB1 in the first 4 rounds. So maybe not full on 0 RB.
And we go 2 here. So this could this could be setting up for a fragile build, because we have Henry, Pacheco. Like we could potentially end at 4 with this build, depending on where we go with our next few picks.
If we get my guy Jonathan Brooks, yeah, that's the way to go.
Scott, come on. You're making a lot of rookie mistakes here. You're just naming all the players that you want to take before it's our turn. We just the last time Beefsworth, you mentioned who you want. It was like that snapped him up. So we got to be careful here. Although the 10-second delay, I didn't realize that we have the 10-second delay. That does help a little bit.
Deontay.
All right. Oh yeah. You're a Deontay guy. Where is he?
Oh wait, is this ADP or not? Should we wait on him?
This is ADP. Wait.
So Hopkins or Deontay, if you think Deontay falls.
I doubt he falls after we talked about him. Let's just do it. Yeah.
I just saw him as the next guy, but maybe that was your ranks. Can you scroll down a little bit? Did you go back to ADP and scroll down?
Yeah.
So we know it's. Aaron Jones is an insane value.
So I want to talk with you about that. I saw that you really like Aaron Jones. What about are you sure that he's going to take on a big enough role? I know that part of your argument seemed to be like, well, he never really got the full-time role in Green Bay, but now he moves to Minnesota. Obviously, the hope is that he goes and takes that full-time role. But do you have any concern that it's still going to be like Ty Chandler? They make it sound like it's still going to be a split. So how confident are you that he is going to have a bigger role in Minnesota than he had in Green Bay?
Yeah, so his ADP is just stupid. So, and who was this player? This is a player who was like frustratingly capped at 50 to 55% of snaps, never getting red zone usage, despite historically being one of the best running backs of all time at converting red zone touches into touchdowns. And still constantly finishing as, a fringe RB1 at worst. And so, yeah, if he's a committee back in Minnesota, he's underpriced. But guess what? I think he might finally be a bell cow. How many tweets have we seen over the years where it's like free #free Aaron Jones? I think that's what Minnesota wants from him. So it's like all that extra upside is free. I'll pause real quick to make the pick.
Hopkins, we just
Yeah, let's do
take
it.
him here. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So all that extra upside is free. Like, look at what Minnesota did last year. Is Alexander Madison through the first 5 weeks of the season was a top 3, top 5 running back by XFP per game, weighted opportunity points per game. They were deploying him as their bell cow. That didn't stick because Alexander Madison is horrible and not good at football. But it's like Aaron Jones is. He's really good. So like maybe they want that role and they see Aaron Jones getting that role. And I would see him having quite a bit of success in that role. Don't forget it's JJ McCarthy, who like the whole knock on him was just that, like, he was never used in college. There was a run first offense. He probably needs that safety blanket check down. So PPR cheat code upside for Aaron Jones, ton of carries. I know people are really high on Ty Chandler, right? But like, they didn't want to give him a lot of volume last year. And I'm certainly more convicted in Aaron Jones' talent, who like over the last, since he's entered the league, is easily like, it's like Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones is like the most efficient running backs in football. So just look at fantasy points per snap. And, if he's a 50% snap guy, still a value. If he's a 70% snap guy, he could be a top 6 running back. And so Jonathan Brooks goes. Aaron Jones didn't go. Oh no, he did go. He did. Okay. Well, yeah. So this is what I mean about my issues with taking running backs is like, I'd rather have Jonathan Brooks and Aaron Jones at cost than I would rather have Derrick Henry and Pacheco at cost, probably.
Right. Yeah, I mean, where we took Pacheco, there was just, I mean, who were the wide receivers that went after him? Xavier Worthy, Romo Dunze. Like, we would have been reaching for any of those wide receivers there. So we were kind of boxed into that position.
Should we start strategizing quarterback and tight end?
Yeah, I mean, we got the outs for JJ late to none of our quarterbacks, all of our quarterbacks are fairly late, so we don't really need to worry about it just yet. Evan Ingram went already.
I like Raheem Mostert if no one else is popping off to you.
Zach Moss is ahead in ADP.
So we
Mostert better than Moss.
Yeah, but we both wrote up both of them, but I certainly prefer Mostert. So please click his name.
All right, he does have the week 6 bye. Yeah, but he does have the week 6 bye. So I just want to point that out. We are. All right, we're going Mostert. I know you don't care, but I care, Scott. I care.
You're such a bye week bro.
I know.
Here's the argument for him. Ready?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Prior to his injury, he ranked second among all running backs in fantasy points. I think only Christian McCaffrey and CeeDee Lamb and maybe one other wide receiver had more fantasy points. He finished the year top 3 at the position in fantasy points and fantasy points per game. And now he's being drafted as what? The RB 28. That just makes no fucking sense. And so it's that simple sometimes. Yeah. When I make a case for some of these other, I'm like, all right, well, there's this, and then you the offensive coordinator, and you look at his stats against this coverage scheme and the playoff schedule, and it's guy finished top 3. He's RB 28. What the fuck are we doing? He ranks top 5 all time in career yards per carry. Mike McDaniel loves him. He smashes in that system. He did everything I described last year playing hurt. I love Devon Achane. I think Devon Achane might just be Chris Johnson 2.0. I think he might just wreck leagues this year, but guy finished top 3. You're getting him in round 8. Stupid. End of story.
So we can talk about it now because we have the next 2 picks before fantasy finance comes up. Do we want to go with Trevor Lawrence at 115? That would be an option for us. I don't think he makes it back to us at 126 because I see fantasy finance has Evan Ingram and Brian Thomas. Oh, he also does have 2 quarterbacks already.
Can you click on ADP? Because I don't know ADP that well, and I feel like I'm flying blind here.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels, done. Please.
Hell yeah.
All right. Fuck the stack. So I don't really like Trevor Lawrence too much, just because like I've been a hater since before he was drafted, and I just feel like every year I'm proven right. Chris does really like Trevor Lawrence, but I mean, like, of all of the starting quarterbacks in football right now, there's 32 of them projected starting. I think he ranks like 31st in career fantasy points per start, like well below Gardner Minshew. And so, not the biggest Trevor Lawrence. It's also like kind of an offense that gets spread out a lot. I don't really know that I view Christian Kirk as a spike week guy. And then like Jaden Daniels, I know you care a lot about the stack, but like matters less when you have a hyper mobile quarterback like Jaden Daniels, who I wrote up as must draft, one of my favorite guys. So you want to hear my case for him? Make sure you check out that article.
I'm just going to star these Commanders guys so we remember that we need to be thinking about getting a stack at some point, but we don't need to
I
do
think
it
I
this
like
year.
Ertz more than Ben Sinnott. I know that sounds
You really?
disgusting, but I've been toying with that. Yeah.
I don't totally hate that take. Like I've been a little bit afraid of Ben Sinnott. I've drafted some, but only in stacks. I'm really not taking him outside of stacks in general. The hype got super high for a little while there, but I feel like it has died down. So now you can get him fairly late. And I'll take him occasionally, but I really don't want to be taking zeros. And I feel like Ben Sinnott, like there is some chance that he's just a zero this year. Like we just get like very, very little, if anything, out of Ben Sinnott. So I do share that concern a little bit there. Before we get too deep into this, I did want to ask you for your opinion on, and I kind of already know the answer. I'll tell you this. Jake Ferguson has been just every show, every piece that's been written recently. Everybody's talking about Jake Ferguson. I know the ship chasing guys had a big discussion the other day on Jake Ferguson. It's among sharp people. So like sharp people within the industry are very divided on Jake Ferguson. Is that something that you can tell us your opinion on Jake Ferguson, because that is such a big conversation piece right now?
Yeah. So I started off like, yeah, he's fine. He's fine. And then I talked with Chris Wecht, who does our projections, who is just like an uber genius. Like I wanted to work for an NFL front office one day. That was my dream. But it's like at Fantasy Points, I really feel like I built a front office that's, like NFL caliber with, all the geniuses I've sort of assembled. And he was just pounding the table. I was like, listen, it makes no fucking sense. Like, look at where my projections have him and look at his ADP. And I'm like, yeah, but like, what if Brandon Cooks like takes a step
Oh, we're
forward?
on
What
the
if
clock.
Jalen Tolbert takes a step forward? Sorry.
Do we want Gus Edwards here? Sorry to interrupt, but we gotta make our pick.
I'd take Tua. I would take
Oh,
you
we
could take
could go to it.
Trevor. You could take whoever you want. You could take Judy.
Wait,
You
bye
could
week
take
J&J.
Edwards. Edwards is fine too. Honest. I think I wrote up Edwards.
You did write up
All
Edwards.
right. Okay, nice.
All right, we're going to
Okay, sick.
get our quarterbacks out of the way
All right,
early.
let's get Janu, flag some of the other
Yep.
names. And so yeah, and I'm like, well, what if that? And he's like, bro, I put that into the projections. It's just it just makes no sense. And so I dug more into it, and I just think he's right. Like the bottom line argument is just that Dallas could very well lead the league in pass attempts this year. They did after their bye week 9 on, and they don't really have anyone else to throw the ball to besides CeeDee Lamb and Ferguson. This is like one of the safest or historically best offenses to be a tight end in. Dallas's tight end 1 is ranked top 10 at the position in total targets in 8 of the last 9 seasons. And then you look at what he did last year. Remember, he's like a sophomore tight end without barely any experience. And he really, he finished tight end 9. He's being drafted as the tight end 9. That's despite like him being like the number 1 touchdown regression candidate at the position. He led all tight ends in red zone targets, ranked 2nd in end zone targets, and only scored 5 touchdowns. But if you look at what he did at the tail end of last season, and so including the postseason, I think over his last 9 games it was, but he averaged 7.6 targets per game with a low of 6, 12.5 underdog fantasy points per game. That would have led all tight ends in the full season. 77% target share, would have ranked top 4. And yeah, I just see a tremendous amount of upside for this player, and just like obvious value for all the reasons I just described.
Love it. Yeah, I've been drafting a lot, so
what are the
I'm glad to
counter
hear that.
arguments? But yeah, let's make our pick.
All right, yeah, let's
first.
make our pick first. I'm a big
Click
Wicks
on-
fan. We could take 80
let's
Mitchell.
take Wicks. Yeah, or Wicks or Downs. We wrote up both of them. I think I wrote up Downs and Ryan wrote up Wicks.
Wicks is kind of my brand. I mean, he's the brand of every sharp in the space right now. So we got to take Wicks when he falls to us after ADP. That's just a rare thing these days. So feels good about that. Um, what were we just saying? I forgot we were just starting to have a conversation about something before we decided to make our pick, and now I
Was it
completely blanked on
Ferguson?
what it was.
I feel
Oh,
like I
Ferguson, yeah, yeah. You were asking about the counterpoint. I think it's just a talent base. Like I think the point that Jacob Sanderson makes is just that he's not that good. So we're making and also it's funny you say in your written piece you were saying essentially that he is a positive regression candidate for touchdowns based on the number of red zone looks, end zone looks that he got last year. I think some people are making the counter argument that he had so many opportunities in the red zone last year that's unsustainable. He's not going to have nearly as many opportunities this year. So I've heard the counter argument that he's going to be a negative regression candidate for touchdowns.
Yeah, so that's just not true. This is an article I do every year is XTD is more predictive of touchdowns than actual touchdowns. You really don't see that where typically like the usage and volume you get is predictive of like your skill set in that area more than just scoring the touchdowns, which is kind of fluky. And Dallas, I think, led the league in pass rate inside the red zone. Their running backs suck ass. So he's definitely, and he scored 3 touchdowns in the postseason. So like maybe you're just looking at the regular season, factor in the postseason, and you saw he was due, and it arrived. And so yeah, I just don't think that's the case. I think he's talented because guess what? He was more productive, more efficient than Dalton Schultz was in this Dallas tight end 1 role. He had minimal experience. He's saying everyone in Dallas camp is saying like he has a ton of room for growth. He's barely scratching the surface. He's so much more knowledgeable this year. He's really taking a step forward. So I don't find any of those arguments compelling.
It's funny to me that you just said that the running backs suck ass because you wrote up Rico Dowdle as a guy that you kind of like and mentioned that one of the film watchers that you respect the most is high on him. Do we go Jahan Dotson here? Just complete a stack here.
Oh, I like Dowdle, but yeah, you can make this pick.
You just said that Dowdle sucks ass, but let's go Dotson so we can get a stack.
Well, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth if I wrote him out. So
Right.
yeah, it's just like I'm saying everyone thinks he sucks ass,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And so like I wrote him up because I just think he's an extreme value. But like I understand that my pitch wasn't compelling and I'm not really swaying anyone on Dowdle, but it's just that this is a really valuable backfield to be a running back in. They've ranked top 5, top 7 in weighted opportunity points per game over the last 3 or 4 seasons now. Each of the last 3 or 4 seasons. He hasn't done anything, but he like ran really bad with injuries last year and the year before. The team has always said they're really high on him. And it's just the best film evaluator I know of the running back position is Danny Kelly by far. And like this was his guy coming out of college. And like every year he has a tweet where it's like, I'm still convinced like Dowdle is really good at football. Maybe
Wow.
it's because of preseason, because like he smashes in preseason DFS every year. But so yeah.
Dowdle does? I didn't know that. That's funny.
I think so. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
I don't play preseason DFS, or maybe I will this year. I have not historically played preseason DFS, so was not aware of that. He was somebody that I drafted a ton of last year, and just didn't get injuries to go my way. Needed an injury to Pollard last year, and it just never came. So Dowdle he had a few touchdowns, like he actually had some decent games, but never really paid off. It's kind of a bummer.
You should play preseason DFS, by the way. John Proctor, my co-host for DFS show, I think, bought a house with his preseason DFS winnings over the years.
Yeah, it seems like it's probably similar to like UFL, where just like the edge is much larger. All right, coming up on our pick. Dowdle did go. If we sort by ADP, it's Pat Fryermuth, Kirk Cousins, Ty Chandler, Jalen Wright, Roman Wilson's there.
Scroll up again. Yeah, so I like Cousins. I like Rodgers. We don't have a tight end. Maybe can you just click on tight end?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty gross. I like Conklin.
Not a Fryermuth guy.
Yeah, Ryan wrote him up, so we might as well take him just for that and ADP value, and we need it.
Yeah, we do need tight end. I think that's the pick.
Let me pull up that article, see who some of our later round values are. So Jonnu for the stack, Tyler Conklin, I like a lot. Ryan wrote up Hunter Henry, and Oh, Luke Musgrave. Is he still available? I love Luke Musgrave.
He went at 143.
Got it. Okay. Like I said, I don't know ADP too well, but I do know where the values are.
How do you feel about Roman Wilson? He's the other guy that I was kind of thinking of there, but we have 7 receivers already, so I thought tight end made more sense.
Yeah, I like him more than Jahan Dotson. I almost wrote him up. There's some uncertainty there, but like he should be the clear wide receiver 2 in this offense, even if it is an Arthur Smith, Russell Wilson led offense.
Yeah, I'm pretty high on Roman Wilson. Do you have a? I don't know if you've.
Oh,
If you've
and I
written
have a
this up.
must draft wide receiver for us in the final
Oh
round
yeah.
or
Oh,
second,
in the final round.
maybe the second
Please,
to last round.
please don't say Kadarius Toney again, Scott. We're not doing that again.
It's Darren Waller. No,
Yeah, right. Last round wide receiver. I'm trying to think if I know. There's a guy that I know you wrote up that you can sometimes get in the last round, but I'd say more often than not you can't. So the person
okay.
I'm thinking you
Can we
might
just
be.
take him where you think we should take him?
Yeah, that would probably be.
He's a guy who helped win me $25,000 in DFS last year.
Oh, can I remember who helped you win 20? No, I think it is actually who I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
I think that'd be like round 16 probably.
No, it's not Noah Brown, just in case you were thinking of Noah Brown.
No, it's not. It's not. No, yeah,
Okay.
no. I think I know who it is. 15 would be like safe. 16 we could probably get him, but not guaranteed.
Okay. Could we go back to ADP?
Yep. Wide receiver, or do you want to see all? We're up next. So we are at 2-3-7-1. So we probably skip wide receiver here, go for running back or tight end.
Yeah, you want to click on running back, click on tight end.
So this is by
unclick
ADP.
running back. Gross. Conklin. Maybe we stack him with Rodgers if we feel like going 3 QB.
Yeah, I like Conklin here.
Oh, we got the Waddle stack. I forgot about that.
Yeah, we have Waddle and Raheem Mostert there for the Miami stack there.
I saw a hilarious clip from Pat Kerrane where they were talking about, and Davis Maddock, where they were talking about Tua's cold weather splits. But I'm inclined to think that's just variance, just because like Tua was like seriously concussed and like dead at the tail end of last season, but he was an MVP front runner before that. And then last year, the dude fucking led the league in passing yards. And like now he's being drafted as the QB 20 or whatever. And it was kind of the same thing last year at the tail end because Tyreek was badly damaged. Jalen Waddle was dealing with injuries. The offensive line was seriously dealing with injuries. The ground game was dealing with injuries. And so I think it was just like a collection of all those factors. And it's like, yeah, Tua is not good enough to support an offense where you don't have a healthy Tyreek, Waddle, and ground game. That's why we're drafting him, is like this supporting cast is so sick. So just hopefully those guys all stay healthy this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm torn. I'm torn on how much there is to that, because it would kind of make sense. Like the narrative of like, well, Tua's from Hawaii, he's never really played anywhere cold. Like I kind of get it. Like, and I also like as an athlete growing up, hated playing in the cold. So I can kind of see like some athletes might just really not like playing in the cold, and that might be a factor. But you're probably right. Don't know where people started talking about Burrow. Why does Burrow? Okay, let's talk about this. Why does Burrow go at 100 and Stroud at 40? They're literally the exact same bet. Scott, Burrow was the cover boy of this show because I know that you love that Cincinnati offense. Should I just go get your guy now? I am a big Khalil Herbert guy, so we could.
Wait, who's my guy?
Do you want me to say it? It's Demarcus Robinson.
Yeah. Let's go get our guy.
All right.
Nice call. I'll make my pitch for him, but first, Joe Burrow. Yeah, exactly what you said. You're fucking right. It's just I wrote him up in this article. ADP makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. If you look at his last 25 healthy games, he averages like 22 fantasy points per game. Only one player averages more over their last 25 games, and that's Josh Allen. And this is a quarterback you're getting at QB7. People are really forgetting just how seriously banged up he was through the first 4 weeks of the season. I wish I could find the link. I cannot. But there was an interview with Brian Callahan where he was talking about like, you have no idea how bad that calf injury was. The guy could just not move, and it just like nuked what this offense was designed to do. He could not move in the pocket. So we were just trying to get the ball out as quickly as possible. And then you just take out those first 4 weeks, and last 25 games, Jamar Chase missed plenty of those games. T. Higgins missed plenty of those games. And only one quarterback has been better. And so, like, why is everyone forgetting about that? I don't know. It's stupid. And then Demarcus Robinson, it's just no offense runs more 11 personnel than the Rams over the last however many years. And he was fucking good. Like, people forget how good. Like, I played him in DFS every single week. From week 13 until week 17. Remember, the team benched their starters in week 18. So 13 through 17, double-digit fantasy points in 5 of 5 games, 6.8 targets per game, 80% route share, 13.5 fantasy points per game. Would have been wide receiver 18. You're getting him at wide receiver 70. Just clear, obvious value to me. So like me some D-Rob.
I've been drafting a ton of D-Rob, so I was glad to see that you are in on him. Yeah, he feels relatively high floor, high ceiling for where he goes in drafts, just like we've seen it from him. Khalil Herbert does make it back to us. I am pretty high on Khalil Herbert. We definitely need some running backs. We only have 3 with 3 picks.
Is Jonnu going to be there with the next pick? You can take him, but just as long as we don't miss out on Jonnu.
Jonnu's probably not going to be there.
Can we take Jonnu then? I'll give you a super deep. I'm sorry. I'll capitulate
right.
next draft.
We need one to 2 more running backs. So we only have
So I don't think so, because again, remember we went kind of early on running backs. How many do we have? Oh, we only have
have 3.
My bad, dude. All right, can you click on running back?
Yep. Here's ADP. I know you're not high on Kamani Vidal.
I like Tyrone Tracy a lot. Scroll down. Mitchell has upside. Scroll down. Yikes.
CEH.
Oh, Estime I like a lot. I think Estime leads the team in carries this year. Sean Payton fucking hates Javonte Williams' guts. Like, it is, watch any press conference. Like, he will hype up any running back not named Javonte Williams.
CEH is a guy that I think that you sort of like. No? Okay. Must be a Ryan guy.
Then Ryan's fired. Then we can't do it. Can you scroll up all the way to the top? If Dameon Pierce gets traded, he's awesome. Like, if he goes to the Chargers or after J.K. Dobbins suffers an injury next week.
So with that in mind, tell me your thoughts on Khalil Herbert, because my whole thing with Khalil Herbert is he's being drafted at his absolute floor as it is. I think he's the RB2 in Chicago. I think he's got talent, and he also has been rumored to could get traded. And if he gets traded, I feel like it's wheels up. So that's why I'm very in on Khalil Herbert. And I think I like him better than Dameon Pierce because I think he's a better running back than Dameon Pierce. Any disagreements there?
I think Pierce can be really good in a man gap scheme. The problem is it's an outside zone Shanahan scheme which he sucks ass at. But for Roshan or Khalil, I mean, I think he's really good. It's just weird that multiple offenses just don't want to give him the ball as much as we all think he deserves. And that's weird. I don't really know what's going to go on with how that backfield shakes up. I just don't see a ton of upside for him. And I see a lot more upside for Tyrone Tracy, for Audric Estime. I don't think Devin Singletary is that good. Tracy was a pretty good wide receiver, converted to running back, and was top 5 in efficiency.
Would you rather go Tracy than Estime here?
Tracy for upside, Estime for floor. I think if we have 3 running backs, Estime probably makes.
I'd say let's go Tracy and hope that Estime comes back to us, because I think we need 2 more. We only have 3.
Got it.
Yeah, it's just more likely that Estime makes it back than Tracy.
So someone just wrote Peyton loves McLaughlin, and that's true, but they're saying McLaughlin is competing for the Joker role, the Darren Sproles role.
Which is a pretty good role, Reggie Bush role,
Oh, fuck yeah, it is. Competing for that with Blake Watson.
Right.
The issue is Jaleel McLaughlin has had the most rushing yards in NCAA history. I think it was a D2 or D3 school, but technically that's accurate. He's a little undersized. Blake Watson was a player I loved. I wrote this thread on why he was far and away my favorite UDFA. And then hearing Peyton talk about him, Peyton gushes over Blake. He's we took him in round 5. We thought he was incredible value. They didn't take him in round 5. It was a UDFA, but that's in his mind. And then, yeah, it's clear that the Mark Ingram role is going to be Estime versus Javante. If like Javante is who he was pre-injury, like I would take him 4 rounds earlier than where he's going. The problem is I just don't think that's the case. I don't think Peyton thinks that's the case. And Estime was also one of my guys, like Blake Watson. So I keep saying this, like Denver's front office, it's the most analytically minded front office in football. And they also always get my guys. So love to see that. Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, Watson, Estime, Bo Nix, not really, just because like I'm a nihilist when it comes to quarterback stats, but like if you're a stats guy who values that with quarterbacks, definitely you would have thought Nix was better than most people had him.
I know we had the conversation last time you were on a stream about how you think that Sean Payton might actually be a genius. I was kind of mocking him, like he thinks he's so smart, and you were like, yeah, but he probably is.
I think he, like, at least for fantasy, like you just look at his track record, his backfield finishes top 3 in fantasy points every single year he's been in the league. Like Drew Brees was dust. Jameis Winston is Jameis Winston. Teddy
didn't do
Bridgewater
it to us. So let's go estimate here.
Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater staying, like look at all Taysom Hill stay, and like still that those offenses were still great for fantasy. So fast pace of play, gets the ball out quick, plenty of PPRs, blah blah blah. So yeah, I'm a truther. I might stand alone with that, but yeah, I like this offense to take a step forward. I also think Russell Wilson has been fully cooked for 5 years. I think Peyton hated him.
Thoughts on this take from 888? Bo Nix is the best pick on the board. Getting Peyton's QB for free is crazy. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so that's kind of what I wrote in my article, is just like all you really need to say is he's far and away the cheapest likely starter, and you don't really need to say much more than that. But also, like again, if you look at his stats in college, like he looks severely underrated. Only Jaden Daniels in 2023 averaged more fantasy points per dropback than Nix in 2022 or 2023. So well ahead of Caleb Williams, JJ McCarthy, anyone else. And then if you look at Sean Payton's quarterbacks since 2018, all of them were putting up low end QB1 numbers on a per start basis. Taysom Hill, Drew Brees, like a fully cooked 41-year-old Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, who was washed 3 years ago, Trevor Siemian, Jameis Winston, Teddy Bridgewater. So like, even if you think Bo Nix sucks, I like that bet on a Peyton quarterback. Even if I stand alone in that, I think he's a great, like insane value as your QB3. I don't draft a QB3 always, but really good value there if you need one.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty in on Bo Nix for a final round value, and I do have concerns that he's going to move up as we get later into the summer. Bo Nix could be like a 16th rounder, so I do like to draft him, but not on a team where we have. So I'll read off our team: Jaden Daniels, Tua at quarterback. At running back, we have Derrick Henry, Isaiah Pacheco, Raheem Mostert, Tyrone Tracy, Audric Estime. Wide receiver, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, Christian Kirk, Deontay Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins, Dontavian Wicks, Jahan Dotson, Demarcus Robinson. At tight end, Pat Fryermuth, Tyler Conklin, Jonnu Smith. I feel like we did a pretty good job with our distribution at each position. Like the quarterbacks, I think that's a perfectly good quarterback room. The running backs, we drafted 3 fairly early and then took a long break, just Tyrone Tracy and Audric Estime. But I feel like the fact that we got those 2 with, pretty safe floor with Henry, Pacheco, Mostert, add-ins, so outside rookies, I think that ends up being okay. How do you feel about these? Let's start with quarterbacks and running backs. How do you feel about these positions, Scott?
Yeah, quarterback's great if Jaden Daniels stays healthy, Tua Tagovailoa stays healthy, but I think those are big ifs for both quarterbacks. But
yeah,
outside of that, tremendous value. Really like them. Running backs, I love. I think these are great. Maybe we could have waited a round or 2 to get a running back I liked a little bit more at cost, but like really like those guys. Tyrone Tracy, Danny Kelly just sent me a tweet from Art Stapleton who said Tracy spent the bulk of today's practice in 11 on 11s with the ones. He's already making a push to be the Giants back on passing downs. And that's great vibes again.
I was just told that Eric Gray is the number 2 with the ones of the running back.
Well, I heard that, and that's one of those things where I'm just like, yeah, this is stupid. There's no way. But I've heard that too. Wide receivers, you have to like.
Yeah, let's scroll down a bit. So our wide receivers are Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, Christian Kirk. I guess I just read them off. So you like these receivers? I mean, yeah,
Like the
hard
wide
not to like them.
receivers. Yeah.
Yeah, just like top to bottom. We just got. Do we have any rookies? 0 rookies. So that is the one downside to this wide receiver room. But I feel good about it anyway. Like the floor is just extremely high, and the ceiling I think is still pretty massive. I mean, we just have a lot of great wide receivers here. Even though I did force you to draft Jahan Dotson, I don't draft a ton of Jahan Dotson either. But for the stack, I think it made sense. So I like it. Tight ends, Pat Fryermuth, Tyler Conklin, John Smith. I think that is a perfectly cromulent tight end room. Any other thoughts?
Perfectly cromulent. I agree.
And we got really nice correlations here so we have Jaden Daniels. I guess that one not quite as nice, just Jaden Daniels with Jahan Dotson. No Atlanta bringbacks for week 17. But then we have Tua with Raheem Mostert and Jalen Waddle and Jonnu Smith. I guess we didn't end up. I was thinking that we got Amari on this team. We don't have any Cleveland bringbacks on this team either. So we didn't do the week 17 thing, but we do have nice correlation within the
close.
team.
We
did
sniped on Cooper.
Yeah, we were thinking about it. We thought about doing some correlating, but didn't end up happening.
We wanted to.
We did want to. We'll go quickly over the others who drafted with us. TM Longacre goes with CJ Stroud, JJ McCarthy at quarterback. I think that's a good enough talent distribution there at quarterback. Running backs, he has Kenneth Walker, Javonte Williams, Gus Edwards, Marshawn Lloyd, Antonio Gibson, Khalil Herbert. Love that. He got my guy Herbert. He got Antonio Gibson pretty late. So, he did go kind of zero. I guess it's not quite zero RB with Kenneth Walker there, but fairly zero RB. But still mixed in, some vets with the rookie Marshawn Lloyd, mostly vets. I think that's a pretty strong running back room. Tyreek Hill, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Jordan Addison, Tyler Lockett, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen Polk, and Troy Franklin at wide receiver. I think those are pretty strong. And then tight end Mark Andrews and Tucker Kraft. So he has CJ Stroud with Nico Collins. And then he has Mark Andrews on the bring back there. Oh, and Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs and Mark Andrews on the bring back. So really nice correlation from that standpoint. And then he also has JJ McCarthy with Jordan Addison. So just a single stack there. And then he has Tucker Kraft on the bring back and Marshawn Lloyd. So that looks, nice correlation there. Nice looking team. Any other feedback, Scott?
Just scroll through it one more time. He got Lloyd. That was one of the guys I wrote up. He got Edwards. I think I wrote him up. You
did.
All right, I appreciate it. You had to remind me twice.
Yeah.
Tyreek. I love Tyreek. Scroll down. Mark Andrews wrote him up. Love him. I don't like Tucker Kraft. He's just really bad injury. I think that it makes it clear that Musgrave is the guy this year. I would have taken like Ertz, or I would have taken someone else like that.
So is it just the injury that you don't like? It's not the talent so much as you just think the injury is going to set him back enough that Luke Musgrave is going to run away with the tight end 1 role?
Well, so Musgrave was the tight end 1 to start the year. He really good, really productive. Then he gets hurt. Then Kraft comes in, really even better, which isn't surprising. When you lose the tight end 1, you get a higher route share. And then Musgrave came back, and Musgrave was drafted a full round ahead of Kraft. And then this injury just really puts him behind the 8 ball. You're missing all of training camp. It's just, in my opinion, a lock that Musgrave is the guy now.
Do you have any thoughts on Jalen Polk or the New England offense in general?
No, I don't. So Ryan is writing up the value in New England wide receivers. I don't think he's finished it. Then I'll look it over, edit it. But right now I don't have any thoughts. I just wasn't as high on Polk. Like I liked McMillan more at cost. But I know my guy Danny Kelly loves Polk. So yeah, he could be a thing. It's like New England. This is the argument Ryan's going to make, is a little bit similar to Houston, where you're just like massively underrating the upside. Like everyone's like, oh, well, these sucked last year, they're going to suck this year. But it's, what if Drake May is fucking awesome? What if this new play caller is significantly better than Matt Patricia, which like doesn't seem like a leap of faith at all. And so I get that. But as of right now, I don't have any strong opinions.
All right. So still working on the opinions of the New England game. B-Spurf drafts Caleb Williams, Deshaun Watson at quarterback. At running back, DeAndre Swift, Chase Brown, Ty Chandler, Bucky Irving, Deontay Foreman, CEH. And at wide receiver, A.J. Brown, Brandon Ayuk, DJ Moore, Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley, JSN, Brandon Cooks, Elijah Moore. Tight end, Dalton Kincaid, Cole Kmet. So
I mean, that's a great wide receiver room. He also took my guy Elijah Moore, where like fantasy
Elijah
points.
Moore is a your guy. Has he been a your guy for like years now? Is that right?
Yeah, so I didn't write him up this year, but he's been my guy for years. I actually had the scoop because one of Elijah's relatives is a fantasy point sub. I had the scoop he was getting traded to Cleveland, and I just didn't check my phone for 45 minutes, and I missed it. That would have been so. I beat myself up for that. But I could have beat out Schefter, but yeah. So I just loved him coming out, and then every fucking year it's the exact same thing. Is like Elijah Moore is a top 3 separator in the NFL by every stat you look at. He gets open at will. He's sick after the catch, but for whatever reason, his catchable target rate is bottom 3 percentile. And it's like, oh, well, it's Zach Wilson's fault. Oh, well, it's, Deshaun Watson's fault, or it was at a certain point, I just like, I don't know what it is. Maybe his catch radius is too low. Maybe it's something else. But I will say this: we have an insider on staff at Fantasy Points, Adam Kaplan, formerly of ESPN, who told me his guys at Cleveland, I'm talking like major coaches, major front office personnel, love Elijah Moore. They think, the Judy edition doesn't really change anything. They think he's going to take a step forward. They think he did everything right last year and it's not his fault. At a certain point, you fool me 4 times, shame on me. So I'm probably not going to write him up, and Judy was another one of those guys like Elijah, where it was the exact same thing, where it's like, he gets open. Just doesn't work. And so, but I mean, ADP 212. But yeah, this is a sick wide receiver room. Available targets in Dallas for Brandon Cooks, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. The funniest clip of the offseason was when he was asked about Luke Getsy, and he's just like, is this, are we live?
Right.
Like, oh, he's a nice guy. And it's just like, he hated his guts. He thought he was misused. I thought he was misused. You got Amari Cooper, you got Calvin Ridley, who Callahan, like I think I wrote a few weeks ago, I think like Hopkins is the better value, but Callahan is saying we're using Calvin Ridley in the Jamar Chase role. So like, that's scary. And so he got a lot of really good wide receivers on this team.
Getsy moved to Chicago, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Does that worry you at all for like Rome Odunze, like kind of moving in behind the 2 vets? Like, is he going to be misused?
I have no idea, dude. I've been struggling with that. I think Keenan leads the team in targets, but like, I've had people in my mention saying, you've got it wrong. Rome Odunze is going to be the slot and Keenan's going to come off the field and 2 wide receiver sets, or Odunze is the real wide receiver. Like, that might be true, dude. Like, I was talking to NFL personnel who were saying like how good is Rome Odunze? They're like, well, it's hard. I mean, like, he's much better than Drake London. And like, dude, Drake London's going in round 1. So like, NFL people are super high on him. This was their guy.
Oh, yeah.
The GM had to be like, had his hands tied behind his back in order not to trade up for him. And Caleb loves him. They already have a rapport, supposedly. To me, it's just Keenan is like a god against zone. And this is something you're seeing where, with the increased rate of zone coverage in the NFL, it allows these older wide receivers, these route running technicians, to have better longevity to their careers. And you're facing zone coverage 77% of the time. Keenan Allen's elite at zone, whereas DJ Moore is the man beater. So to me, it's like, when we're doing outside the box, which by the way, we're planning on doing outside the box this year. I'm going to be hammering DJ Moore against man coverage heavy defenses, but yeah, really wouldn't surprise me if Keenan Allen, he's always been a target hog throughout his career. He's finished as a wide receiver 1 in 6 or 7 straight seasons now, is the wide receiver 1 of that offense. To me, it looks like Rome's the odd man out. Maybe they take it slow with him, or they just live in 11 personnel. Getsy didn't really do that, but
is it Shane Waldron, Meatwad points out, Shane Waldron is the moved to Chicago from Seattle, right? I don't know all my offensive coordinators.
I'm
That's
just bad with names. Shane Waldron is the OC in okay, damn, what the Luke Getzey Raiders. Okay. Oh, yeah. So maybe I got the names wrong. So
yeah.
Shane Waldron was who JSN was. Yeah, dude, I'm so bad with names.
I am too.
I
Well,
called
names that are not players in fantasy.
for some reason I get Larry Fitzgerald's name mixed up with Ryan Fitzpatrick every time. And I
I mean,
don't
that's
know
all
how that
Fitz. It's the
happens.
Fitz thing. It's just Fitz. Yeah.
But I just sound like an idiot where it's like, well, Ryan Fitzpatrick is like, one of the
Right.
best wide receivers of all time. What?
Yeah.
But yeah, so sorry about that. You know what I meant.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole thought process holds anyway. All right. And then finally, the icon goes Josh Allen, Kirk Cousins, Will Levis at quarterback, running back, James Cook, Najee Harris, Jalen Warren. So he does the double Pittsburgh thing. I noticed that. Also does he does the two handcuffs, Najee with Jalen and Nick Chubb with Jerome
Did you say
Ford.
Hancock?
I did. Yeah. That's the terminology we use in these best ball streaming streets.
That's awesome.
It goes Marvin Harrison, Drake London, T. Higgins, Khalil Shakir, Mike
Wait,
Williams,
did he
Tyler Boyd.
handcuff his own running back?
He handcuffed two running handcuffed Najee Harris with
Yeah,
Jalen
so
Warren, and then
I just don't think that makes any sense in a format where you're trying to finish first place out of 600 plus thousand teams. That just severely limits your upside. You really want to be banking that your running backs stay healthy, and if you're drafting a handcuff, it's a handcuff on another team where you capture that upside. This seems like an insurance policy. You're mitigating risk, which is not something you want to do in a tournament style basketball league with 600K plus entries.
so I go back and forth on. I was pretty anti handcuffing for that reason. I've opened myself up to it a little bit in certain situations. I think Pittsburgh is one where it's just like they could be splitting carries all year. So theoretically, like Najee is the guy who
Oh,
scores
right.
28 in week 15, and then it's Jalen Warren in 16 and 17 or something like that. So it's depending on the cost, I'm open to it in some instances.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even look at the names. Yeah. And this is kind of the same thing with Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford, where it's like, oh, ideally you get 10 weeks of Jerome Ford, Nick Chubb comes back, and then you get the 8 weeks with Nick Chubb. And
right.
So there's no overlap. Yeah. So that's fine. I apologize to, who is this? Theacon?
Yeah. Theacon. Exactly right. Yeah, seems fine in this. Not something that I do all the time. It's just something that I'm more open to it than I was previously. So I think it works. I can't decide if I like the Nick Chubb Jerome Ford thing for whatever reason. I think I'm just out on Nick Chubb, but maybe at this price it's fine.
I mean, me too. I really need to talk to Edwin or injury expert about this, but like theoretically, like imagine like Nick Chubb is just fully Nick Chubb in week 9 on, then he's easily one of the best picks you can make. So really need to dig into how serious that injury is.
We got a fantasy points in the chat says Foreman is slept on. Who would this be? Who's managing the fantasy points account?
This is probably Trey.
Slept on.
Donta
Trey,
Foreman.
that would make sense.
Yeah. Someone brought that up on our last stream. I don't know that I agree with it, but
I draft a good amount of Deontay Foreman. I'm more in on Jerome Ford, but Deontay Foreman seems like he's a final round pick that I'll throw on if I need a last running back sometimes.
I don't know that I'm really on Ford because it was best case scenario last year, right? And he was still a committee back.
Yeah. Scott, are you available to do another draft?
Sure.
All right, we're going to jump in right now. So this is your 10-second warning. Get into the draft right now because I'm going as quickly as I can to find. There we go.
But yeah,
plenty of space.
So we're doing outside the box next year.
Hell yeah, we are.
Hell yeah, we are. That was one of the biggest DFS shows at the tail end of last season. That was crazy.
I mean, all of last season, like I feel like it took off. We started, and then we had a week where we couldn't do it, and like really shot ourselves in the foot briefly. We didn't announce that we weren't doing it. So like we did like weeks 1 and 2, and it like was growing quickly, and then we just like took a week off and didn't tell anybody we were taking the week off. So we shot ourselves in the foot a little bit, and then it grew quickly when we came back. Yeah. And, we were looking at the viewership numbers, not even factor in that I forgot that like we also posted it on Fantasy Points. So I was looking at just the Stochastic YouTube channel. I was like, damn, we really crushed it. Like we had, more views than anything else at Stochastic. And then you throw on that we also had people viewing it on Fantasy Points. Yeah, that was, and obviously I loved doing it last year. I know you've told me that you love doing it as well. So I'm pumped to run it back.
Yeah,
Still,
dude,
still
it's
working on
weird.
whether it'll be just be on the Fantasy Points YouTube. We'll figure out exactly where it's going to be, but I'm looking forward to it.
I hate doing podcasts. I hate doing live streams, but I love doing them with you. Like I'll say yes every time. I don't know why. It's just you make it fun.
I'm glad to hear that because I love doing them with you also. I feel like I always learn something. Like I said, every time we do a stream together, I learn something. Also helps that we're just friends. It's fun to get together, shoot the shit, talk some shit. Um, always a good time.
No flannel today though.
Yeah, sorry to disappoint. Wait, do I have a flannel nearby? Man, I like to say that I always have a flannel within reach. So here is one of the many flannels that is within reach of me right now. It is so hot right now. I got into my softball uniform early, so that's what this is. This is my softball uniform. What says, "Oh, so sweet." Yeah,
Aw.
we are sweet. Yeah, that one's a real. That I am the guy says no fake flannel. Even I do have. Do I have that? It's behind. It's a little bit out of reach. I do have a couple summer shirts that made to look like flannels, so I use those to kind of throw people off so they think I'm wearing a flannel even when I'm not. But that is not quite in reach
Are we
right now.
106 again?
We are the 106 again.
Nice. This is a plus EV. We now have a better sense of the players who are going to be there for us.
Yeah.
Um,
We could try and flip it a little bit, not go to Justin Jefferson, maybe go somewhere else this time. I don't know. We'll see what's available. We also do have several of the same people, several people from chat in here again. Theacon in here, Mr. in here as well. Chris makes it in with the 8-hole. Do I know Hamlin Motorsports? Is that Denny Hamlin? Is he Hamlin Motorsports? Turbotron makes it in here. Jack Mitchell. A lot of names I know.
the race car driver or Denny Hamlin?
Yeah, so I'm thinking it says Hamlin Motorsports. Like that's got to be Denny Hamlin, right? He also, I know that he is working. He actually does work in the fantasy sports space a little bit. I think that he's working with some people, so it could actually be Denny Hamlin. That'd be funny. All right. Do we want to just go Justin Jefferson if CeeDee Lamb and Chase are gone, or do we want to mix it up?
No.
Even with your love for Breece Hall?
I mean, I'm fine with Breece, but it was the same argument that Jewish McCaffrey made last time we streamed, where it's just like, how many times were this later? It's like, oh, I really like this running back, but I don't want to draft more running backs.
Good point. All right, let's get our guy then.
Boom. How'd you know it was going to be him and not Chase or someone else?
I mean, it could have been. Actually, I mean, Amon-Ra goes early in most of these. If Amon-Ra had been available there, would you have thought about going Amon-Ra over Justin Jefferson to mix it up? Or is there?
Yeah. Okay. So on the last show, I was saying I would take Breece ahead of Amon-Ra, but Chris just made a really good case laying out, everything going into his projections that everyone's underrating him, which is probably right. Everyone's underrated him every year. So.
Right. Tom, thank you for signing off on this. So we know who is there on the Fantasy Points. This Browns color analyst Nathan Zagura is who mentioned my guy Foreman to me. So I have hope, and he signed it Thomas. So I thought you were speculating that it's Trey, but it's actually Tom Tipple with the account right now. All right, so we get Jefferson. So what did we do last time? We went Jefferson last time, and then our second pick was Waddle. So it was Waddle last time. I think we should mix it up, do something a little bit different here in the 6-hole. Something other than Waddle would be my request here. So I'll pull up the ADPs now, so you can start thinking about who you might want other than Waddle.
Taylor, but he's not going to be there.
He could be. He sometimes falls. Are you a Saquon guy?
No, not at cost.
Yeah, me neither. I'd like to point out that I don't give a shit about Jair. So Best Ball Moderate brought this up before when we drafted. Aren't you worried about Jair Alexander? Not at all worried about Jair Alexander. Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the league. He is going to eat Jair Alexander up. Not a concern.
I mean, I'll disagree a little bit. I'm sort of a cornerback truther, but with the caveat that it really only matters for like 3 cornerbacks. I think Jari's one who has historically shut down Jefferson. Maybe one week Jefferson went nuclear, but
He did.
to me, it's just, I mean, he's just clearly the best pick there at that cost.
Yeah.
Even if you're identifying a tough matchup for the most important week.
All right. So by ADP right now, it's Saquon Barkley, Devontae Adams, Nico Collins, Debo Samuel, Jalen Waddle, Mike Evans. Devin Achan is up there as well.
Yeah. This is kind of like a not so fun area to draft, but I guess if you don't want Waddle, you go Adams
Yeah, I'd rather just do something a little bit
or
different.
Debo. I don't know. I like Devontae.
Yeah, let's go Devontae. He does have the great 3 dome games in the playoffs. So that's pretty nice. In the fantasy playoffs, that is.
Oh, I just hired a genius. I'm pretty sure he's a genius. I've been trying to hire him for years now. He's on Twitter at ZWK Football. He just made his fantasy points debut for us, breaking down the scoring settings in the Scott Fishbowl League. But his next piece is going to be a deep dive, literally calculating to figure out exactly how much more valuable week 17 is versus week 16, week 15, week 4, week 8. And so like that's been like one of the top debates where I've always said I think full season, full playoff schedule is underrated relative to week 17, maybe even more important than week 17. And so I don't know the answer yet because, he's putting the finishing touches on this article before it gets to me, but we should finally have that answer. So be on the lookout for that over at fantasypoints.com.
All right. Interesting. Yeah, I've seen it broken down. A lot of people have run the numbers different ways, kind of comes out different depending on how you run the numbers. So I'll be interested to see what he comes up with. I don't think I'm familiar. You and your hiring geniuses, you just love to hire the geniuses, don't you?
That's what I'm doing, man. I just I'm trying to build like the fantasy points front office is just littered with guys who are so much smarter than me.
That's what you got to do. I've said it before. I like surrounding myself with people who are smarter than myself. Sounds like you are similar to me in that sense. Just like, yeah, I want to learn from people, so I want to surround myself with smart people.
I'll tell you what, you can make this pick here, but I don't know.
We're not going Henry. I don't want to do Henry twice in a row.
Yeah.
That's my one.
Well, Ryan wrote up Kyron, so maybe he
more
sold you on that, but I'd prefer a wide receiver. I just don't know which one.
Yeah, I don't know which one either.
Josh Allen's honestly fine. What about tight ends? Does Mark Andrews go here? I forgot.
No, he goes in like the 5th round. We could hold off there. I'd be fine with Kyron. I'll cue him up.
Pittman.
Oh yeah, you talked about Pittman, liking Pittman. Let's do it just because I don't draft a ton of Pittman, and he did make your list of players that you kind of like. So what's
we could
what's
stack him
there?
with Richardson.
I mean, yeah, I love Richardson, so I'm good with that.
It's just although I like Burrow way more than Richardson at cost, but Richardson's a good pick at his price. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, you could argue that Richardson kind of hurts him, but he was just such an elite target hog last year, 40% first read target share, something insane. I think the Josh Downs injury played a big role in that because they were close to even prior to his knee injury, but I don't know. He's just fine. And like Cup, I'm worried is dusty. DK Metcalf, it's just hard with like 3 wide receivers there. I hate Zay Flowers. I think Tank Dell's
Flowers.
Yeah, ooh. I think Tank Dell is a better pick than Diggs. It's just I hate Zay Flowers at cost. He has a really good valuable role for fantasy. I think Derek Brown has some good tweets on that, but it's just I don't know that he's good. My concern with him coming out of college, I had concerns with him coming out of college, and then as a rookie, he just had like the most gimmicky role ever, where it was just tons of screens, a ton of his yards came on busted coverage. He was used as the motion man. Were all these like efficiency cheat codes where I just don't know that he's that talented, but I can't deny the role for fantasy is good. It just might not be as good as wide receiver 1 in a Shane Steichen offense.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, Yeah, I know. Debro is in on Zay Flowers. I remember we drafted him the last time. He was the first because I was pretty out on Zay Flowers. Drafted with Debro recently, and we went after Zay Flowers. Debro in chat here wants to know though, have you come around to Brian Robinson? Are you a Brian Robinson fan at all?
I have not. I have not, unfortunately. I
You can't
just
convince him on Brian Robinson or Zay Flowers. Sorry, Debro.
it's just like a total workhorse versus scat back, and like you sign Eckler, like he's gonna get carries too. I don't know. I think he's good. I think he's talented, but
Snatch catchers. Chris does Zay Flowers at 32, Mark Andrews at 41. So he is pushing Lamar. I was hoping that we were going to be able to take Mark Andrews here if he hadn't taken him and then get
all right. Well, then
Lamar
let's
on the wing
just
back.
snipe him
Yeah.
on Lamar out of
Screw
spite.
you.
Yeah.
No.
How do you like
Oh,
it?
we are on the clock. Let's
T
go.
Higgins.
Yeah, I was going to say. Do you like George Pickens at all?
Not at the same price as T Higgins. No.
Or Trey McBride, I guess would be the only other.
No.
Okay.
T Higgins. Etienne
All right.
falling again for the second straight draft. T Higgins is like the same. I'd rather get Burrow now, but it's basically the same argument.
Yeah, we could push it
as with Burrow. So Burrow and Higgins only played 2 healthy games together all of last year, and Higgins put up like wide receiver 1 numbers, and what he did the year before that put up basically wide receiver 1 numbers. The year before that, basically wide receiver 1 numbers, and you're getting him round 4. So next to McLaurin, who's never once finished close to where Higgins has historically. So great pick. Love our wide receivers. This is like the first time we finally let ourselves just piss.
We are pissing. Yeah, it feels good. Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Michael Pittman, T. Higgins is the start. I have Anthony Richardson queued up, but that does not mean we have to take him. We could push it and see, at 67, maybe go for Burrow. Might even be able to. Where did? If we wait, so it'll be coming back to us at 54. Oh no, so we would not be able to push him past 67 because that will be the Jamar Chase drafter. TM Longacre, Mr. Mister there would take him, I bet. So yeah, we could push Anthony Richardson, just go for Joe Burrow at 67 if Richardson's not there. Might make sense for us here.
C40 says Neil has a full bladder from the last draft.
I've made it through most of my water. I'm doing okay. I usually make it through these drafts okay with my not drinking any water prior to the stream. I usually make it through without really having to piss that badly, thankfully. I feel it a little bit. It's tinging. I can feel the bladder a little bit, but I'm gonna be just fine.
That's my least favorite word to say on camera. Water. I mispronounced it and I got roasted by your chat last time. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I roasted you. You said wooter.
and chat roast. I get roasted every time I say it by my girlfriend, by
like anyone. A Philadelphia thing.
I don't know. It's the one word I can't say.
Yeah. Can't say water.
C40 meant your piss boy wide receiver picks. And Terry Brown that was obviously a piss boy joke.
Yeah, I totally missed it. I totally missed the piss boy joke.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Etienne went late again. Wow. He's a good value.
Debro does promise to keep pestering you, by the way. And yeah, thank you, Derek, for reminding me. Only 26 likes on the video. Would appreciate you if you did like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel. As you can see on the banner there, I am trying to grow the YouTube channel, trying to add some subscribers here. So anybody subscribing, I do appreciate it. Growing slowly and steadily. And of course, if you're not in the Discord, go check out the Discord. Also, the link is in the description of this video. We have some fun. We grade some drafts. All right, sorted by ADP
Can
here.
We go Pacheco again?
Yeah, I'll allow it. I do like Pacheco. I think he's a good value where he's going.
Oh, we're letting this guy get Lamar at great cost.
We're allowing it. We're allowing it. Yeah. He played it right. He took both of the pass catchers.
He's probably praying. He's probably praying. Let's see if this guy.
Denny Hamlin's about to steal him from you. Get ready to be sniped by Denny Hamlin. No. Oh, brutal.
That's a story you could tell your
Denny.
grandkids, though.
Yeah. Man, that's rough.
You want to plug fantasy points for me, Neil?
Yeah. So fantasy points. And by the way, if you don't see up above, down below, use promo code Flannel to get 15% off any fantasy points product. That includes the data suite, which I absolutely love. And that is without, Scott was just saying that we are going to get upgrades to the data suite. Even without the upgrades, I think that it's just a fantastic tool. I use it for all of my player evals. What I love about the Fantasy Points data suite is they have people who are actually tracking every single game. Brett Whitefield. Now I'm blanking
Whitefield,
on
yeah.
Whitefield has a team of people watching every single NFL game throughout the year. They're tracking every single play, and they grade things a little bit differently than the NFL does. So, for example, a throwaway. So a quarterback just throws the ball out of bounds, clearly not trying to target a receiver. Other places might give a target to a receiver for that, and it kind of skews the numbers a little bit. Those targets to not real targets. Receivers get credit. I think not including those, just grading things a little bit differently. I really like the way Fantasy Points does it, where they just don't credit a receiver if a receiver is not meant to catch the ball. Love that. We've talked about this, Scott. Things like if a running back jukes a defender from 2 yards out, other places might not call that a forced missed tackle, whereas in the Fantasy Points data suite, they're going to call that as a forced missed tackle because the fact that he juked him out early, you shouldn't be, discredited for doing it too early if that's how you get away from the defender. So I like the way that they grade things in the data suite. I think that it is just maybe the best data tool out there, best data tool that I'm aware of for NFL data. And you can get it for 15% off. Anything else you want to say about the fantasy? Obviously, great content. Other products out there as well. That's just one that I love so much. So I'm always selling the data suite. But if you have anything else you want to add, Scott,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. Derek just said most accurate data out there. That's our first priority. I'm so anal and such a perfectionist with this stuff. We just hired a guy who was a scout with the Browns last year and like 4 years before that. He's going to have an article out soon ranking the top offensive lines. That's his specialty, offensive line. So he's going to help make everything more accurate. We put a lot of pride into that. We have more data than anyone else, more filterable data, splittable data, more accurate data. We're adding more tools. And again, we think this is like a $15,000 product you're getting for $200. So be on the lookout for, or you can play around with it. We offer a free view. We offer a free week trial. So if you're a nerd like I am, definitely check that out. And we're on the clock here. So
I've queued up
Deontay.
Burrow. But we
Oh,
could
Burrow done.
we could
Yeah.
push him. His ADP is 81, so we could actually try to push him if you wanted to.
Where's
Oh,
Deontay?
but Chase is on the other side of the board, so Burrow probably not coming back to us.
Yeah.
I did note that I didn't even realize that Mr. Mister actually sniped us on Anthony Richardson, reached to take Anthony Richardson ahead of ADP last time. And I totally
Wow.
missed that. So that was very rude, but we were going to push him anyway. So it's all right.
I just want to say that was a really smart observation from you on the fly to fly. Oh, wait, no, Chase is on the other side of the board. He's not going to make it back to us. That was a good call.
Although it would have been TM Longacre who already has Anthony Richardson. So who knows? Maybe we would have let him come back to us anyway, but hard to pass on. If Burrow had been there at 77, I feel like he probably would have taken him. I don't know.
Best pick at cost, I think, at the position, or him or Jaden Daniels. But
yeah, I've been drafting a ton of Jaden Daniels. I think he's another one who's like opinions among smart people vary quite a bit on Jaden Daniels. I'm into it
really,
just because I the Omega upside, but I think people are concerned about like he's looks frail. So like just like a guy his
right?
size
You
running
can't
a lot,
argue
like
against
the
that.
injury concerns, it's a concern for people.
No, I think that's a major. But like outside of that, I haven't heard anyone arguing against him except for Hilo, who writes for us now at Fantasy Points and one of the smartest people around. He is adamantly anti Jaden Daniels, anti Anthony Richardson. I don't get it at all, but he's a smart guy. So
Yeah, I mean I'm drafting him. I like him quite a bit. But yeah, if you're concerned about the injuries, I get it. I don't know. He's a rookie. I want to see it. I want to see him get hurt once before I just call him an injury risk. I know we saw it with Anthony Richardson last year, but they're also, I mean, pretty different in that Anthony Richardson is just a giant guy.
right,
I
right.
also
Maybe he's too big. Maybe you want a frail quarterback or
Well, I've referenced, and this is kind of a dumb thing that I'm like I've over focused on this a little bit, but I think it was Field Yates or somebody referred to Jaden Daniels as just like his elasticity, like he's just like the way he's built, like he's more elastic. He referred to him as being like a little bit more uh Gumby, like just like with his elasticity, like so maybe he can take a hit because he's not too rigid. And I just needed some excuse to draft Jaden Daniels as much as I want to, and that was the excuse I needed to just like, yeah, he's not going to get hurt because he's elastic. I'm buying into that argument.
I love it. All right, can you check ADP because we're on the clock soon?
Yes, we are. Kittle is here. Evan Ingram. We didn't get an elite tight end last time. We could go Christian Watson. I know you like him.
Could we take Aaron Jones? We don't need a wide receiver as much as running back, or Kittle. Kittle, great
Let's go. We
spiky.
went Aaron Jones last time, and we did the
I know, but
double
he's
week
such
6
a good
bye week.
pick.
Yeah,
All
and he
right, all
is.
right, all right.
I mean, you gave me outs. You told me I could take Kittle, and he's 11 picks past ADP. So
All right, and that's
hard to
what I
pass
said
up
at the
on that
start of the
guy.
show is you got to grab those ADP fallers. That's the benefit of the 106.
Yeah,
I will say on Anthony Richardson, like something I've thought about that sounds so stupid, but like I kind of think is real is like he might be too much of a freak athlete, which he was. He was the most athletic quarterback of all time and like would have been like a top 5 most athletic tight end or edge rusher of all time. And like those guys always get hurt. Like the most athletic guys are always getting hurt, or like Xavier Worthy, Deshaun Jackson, like you're too fucking fast. Like the human body wasn't made to be that fast, that I like literally think like in a sense that's a red flag to be that much of a freak athlete. Because you're right, like he's built like a linebacker, so why was he always hurt? Whereas like Bryce Young and Jaden Daniels are built like more like me, right? And
right.
I don't know. That's just something I think about. But it seems like like a drunk uncle take or like a random guy at the bar stool next to you
It
take.
does. It does feel very much like one of those takes, but I like it anyway. I like you're throwing it out there. Just think about it. Maybe
I mean,
these
so
guys are
that's
too
that's what I
athletic.
do when I write my articles. Is like here's really high level analysis, and then I'll throw in like dumb takes in there. Like when I wrote up Tank Dell, it's
You
like
got to.
literally this matters to me. I don't know what degree it matters, but CJ Stroud was asked to build like his ultimate offense, and he put like Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase as his outside wide receivers, and then he put Tank Dell as his slot, and it was like
Yeah,
this is the best slot wide receiver in football. And so it's like, could he be the wide receiver one of this team?
I
He
love
was when
that.
he was healthy last year. When him and Nico were both healthy, he beat him out in target share. He beat him out in fantasy points per game as a rookie, and he beat him out substantially by route share, which I think matters more now that you add Stephon Diggs to the mix and Jonathan Brooks.
I'm a big fan of the dumb guy narrative takes. Like I have plenty of them too. I throw out the narratives all the time. We can't let the robots win. Is what it comes down to. We cannot let the robots win. We got to have a little bit of narrative in there.
Yeah, we gotta. Yeah, I'm a big narrative street guy. I'll walk down narrative street every now and then. It matters. But Aaron Jones off the board stings. Jonathan Brooks off the board stings.
Yeah, we only have one running back so far, but I feel so much more comfortable with this build than the last one. We got our 4 wide receivers through the first 7 rounds. We got one running back, one quarterback, one tight end. Like I'm feeling good about the way we have structured this so far. Christian Watson going also stings there. I mean, he was going to make it back to us. All right, I will pull up ADP here so we can
I'm gonna
start
drop
thinking.
running backs I like in our private chat.
Okay.
Because I think this is one of our edges is that there are a lot of later round running backs I like. We just end up not getting a ton of them
Yep.
because I push running backs. Oh, I like Ramondre a lot.
Yeah, let's do Ramondre. I
I like
liked
him
your
way more
argument
than
for
Zach
Ramondre.
Moss.
It must have been. I thought you were high on Zach Moss. Also, I am pretty high on Zach Moss, so I'm a little bit
So I
hurt
did
that
write
you
him
don't like
up.
Zach Moss. Okay, you
I
did
did
right.
write
Okay,
him
that
up,
was you.
but I just as we're going through this, is like I definitely like the other guys a little more.
I love. I mean, Zach Moss also would have fit with our Burrow build a little bit, like arguably. But we could also go Chase Brown later if we want to throw on him onto the Burrow build. Yeah, but Ramondre was also an ADP faller. His ADP is what? I think it's not that big. 85 fell to 91. Do you want to go over why you love Ramondre so much at all?
It was kind of the same thing with Aaron Jones, is where like if he is just a committee back, he is a slight value, and if he's a bell cow, he's one of the best picks you can make. And I think there's a really good chance he can be a bell cow. I also think he's really good. I think he was dealing with like a serious injury through the first 4 weeks of last season, and New England was just playing their typical games with the injury report. Oh, it's an illness, but he's fine. But really efficient from what was it, week 5 on. He was the bell cow over those last 2 or 3 weeks of the season. Just a player I think is really good in the passing game, really good in the running game. It's hard for the offense to be any worse than it was last year.
ADD says, I'm in the private chat. Bucky Irving, Estime, Tyrone Tracy, Rucodotto. He paid attention to the last draft, apparently.
Nice. Yeah.
I
He
did
got a
think
lot
it
of it.
was I did think it was funny that you sent me all these names in the private chat, and it was like, well, you already sent me these this morning. It's in my email. You sent
Oh,
me
yeah,
your
yeah.
so I already have this.
And
All right,
he's apparently hacked your email, so
he's hacked my email. Yeah, he knows exactly what we like here. All right, so by ADP,
Jordan Love is a good pick. Scroll down.
Rashid Shaheed, you're the Rashid Shaheed whisperer.
That's right. Yeah, I don't know. I guess just Love, and he's the best ADP value.
Tajay Spears.
That's a Ryan guy. That's not a me guy.
Okay. I mean, we don't have any Packers though. Is my one concern here.
Well,
we could do it and add my guys later.
Has Wicks gone? Yeah.
We got Wicks, we got Dobbs,
Is
we got
Watson gone?
Musgrave later. So we do have
Romeo
some.
Dobbs is there. Oh, we'll take Luke Musgrave.
Yeah. We have plenty of outs from the Packers.
And remember, I'm the guy who kind of like doesn't sweat stacks as much as everyone else does.
But I do, Scott.
Oh,
I sweat the stacks.
Oh, yeah. Why don't you click Marshawn Lloyd while we're at it?
Dobbs goes at 103. Denny, come on, Denny. Yeah, Marshawn Lloyd.
Who, if you'll remember from the last draft, I really like.
You think Denny's going to take Wicks too? Is he just the ultimate sniper?
Oh, Jermaine Burton, you want to add?
Yeah, it's a good call. Anybody else we want to add, like Gesicki for a late round guy?
We can if we don't draft another tight end, but I was hoping to get Musgrave.
I'll throw these guys on there.
I don't want you Shivas.
You don't want Yoshi?
No.
I haven't really been drafting him.
We already have
since they drafted Burton. Yeah. Well, I mean, hopefully we just get Burton. So
yeah,
that would be ideal. I don't totally hate Yoshivas. I think that he's like a fine last round pick. I think there's a world in which he beats out Burton. Like I don't think it's I'm high on Burton, by the way, too. So Debro, don't cancel me for saying this, but I think there is a world in which Yoshivas just takes that role. Or they both get there because T. Higgins gets traded.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. Could be.
Yeah, probably not. All right. Dobbs goes. Pull this up by ADP. Caleb Williams falling a little bit. I think he's all the camp stuff about him like not being able to make passes has scared people a little bit. I'm not that worried about it. It's June. He was, number one pick.
Jamar Chase supposedly had the worst camp of all time.
I know. That's a. Can we go Wicks here, or do you want to? I feel like if we push him,
you
might
just
not
scroll
make
down.
it.
I just want to make sure there's no one else. Yeah. Let's take Wicks. I like it.
Okay. Just get one stack out of the way for me.
For you.
Thank you for allowing that.
Teamwork. We're a good team, Neil.
Oh, we also have the here's the thing I didn't even realize with the love is we have the week 17 ring back. We got Justin Jefferson in there.
Oh, look at that.
We already got it built in.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Totally intentional, by the way.
Jari's going to shut him down.
Isn't it Jair? I swear it's Jair Alexander.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
You always call him Jari, and he's one of the few defensive names that you say, and every time I think, is that right? Like maybe I'm just crazy, but I feel like it's Jair Alexander.
Yeah, you're right, Jair. Again, I am so bad with names. I called LeGarrette Blount for a decade. Like I knew the right name, I just couldn't.
You just can't help yourself.
Oh yeah, you should hear me in my UFC podcast. The drinking game is just every time I mispronounce a name, and it is so bad.
You sent it to me last week, and I didn't end up listening. I meant to listen to the UFC podcast, but then just ran out of time. So I never prior to the slate, I didn't get a chance.
I had just butchered every possible name in the worst way possible, and then there was a fighter named Kyo Bohayo, something like that. It was like Chow Baralo. I got it. I finally got one, and then just died laughing for 10 minutes.
That's great. And are you going to do a podcast this week? Is there UFC this week?
No, next week.
Okay.
Which is a good one. Robert Whitaker, Hamza.
Oh yeah. That'll be fun. which Minnesota QB do you have more of? I don't have any Darnold currently. I
Right.
have some JJ.
Yeah, it's the way to do it.
Just making the bet that JJ is going to be the guy late in the year, even if he doesn't start the year. And all
Eh,
the I had concerns early on, and I think there's some chance that Sam Darnold starts the year, but
He's not going
everything
to
they
start the
say,
whole year, so there's
yeah,
no point in taking him.
yeah. All we really care about is the playoff weeks. James Young says you can't aggressively draft a player based on a Sean Payton quote in June. What is that referring to?
Just that Peyton probably lies, but I actually don't think so. I think he's like one of the most straight shooting coaches. It really could be the case where
Oh,
he
it
does
might be
hate.
this. Might be what he's
Oh
referring
yeah,
to.
you can't say much based on that, but
Oh, we are coming up on the clock.
we can
Here's
go Dowdle.
ADP. Dowdle, where were we? Okay.
Or where does Lloyd go before?
Lloyd goes just after Dowdle.
I'm cool with either one. If the stack makes sense for you, because they do like him as a pass catcher, but Dowdle's more my guy.
All right, let's go Dowdle. I'm fine with that.
We could have taken Goddard too. Goddard's a good value. Schultz
Yeah.
is fine value.
We do have some later. I mean, Musgrave, I would like to add on to our stack potentially.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I thought about Goddard there, but I like the idea of adding Mustard, having a double stack. I generally prefer double stacks. So the fact that we, already, most of the Green Bay, all of the Green Bay receivers that I draft are gone. So would like holding a spot there for the tight end. Also would like to get Burton. I know Debro is calling that out. I do like Burton in a vacuum, and I really like him when I have a Burrow stack.
Yeah, he's a little less of a priority for me, but I'm cool with it.
You're not a huge Burton guy?
No, I like him. I like the talent. I just don't see Cincinnati trading Higgins. But I mean, no, there's upside there. You could, if you kick Chase to the slot, which I think is smart, and where he wants to go, then and just live out of 11 personnel, that could really be a fun offense.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm drafting him like he is the wide receiver 3 there. Like, even
Yeah.
assuming that T. Higgins, if he just takes the Tyler Boyd role, like he's a great value for that role, especially if you think that he might be more talented than Tyler Boyd. I don't know. I just see like if he's a talented rookie, I think the upside is there. But
yeah, I think that's how you should be thinking about it.
all right, so we have 139 and 150. It's kind of an awkward like timing for all the players we want to get. Like, I think we have 3 players we're trying to box into this range, and we're probably not going to get all 3. So let's prioritize. Who do we like between Lloyd, Burton, and Musgrave? And I guess we can sort of let ADP dictate to some extent. So it's 142 for Lloyd, 149 for Burton.
Yeah,
And
I'd go.
Lloyd goes. So
Right,
so
I'd go
never mind.
Musgrave then.
Musgrave over Burton.
Yeah. It's
All
the
right.
likely wide receiver 3 versus, I think, the guaranteed tight end 1.
All right.
Who was really good
True.
last year, as a rookie, which is rare for rookie tight ends.
Also playing the game of like who is more likely to come back to us. I think that is Musgrave, but I'm fine with going Musgrave and hoping for the best with Burton. I guess we also
don't
like
really need wide receivers, right?
yeah, that is true.
But we drafted them early.
We also like, because we have Burrow with Higgins, we're kind of making the assumption that Higgins is not getting traded, which is like that does add a little bit of an extra out, or get traded or hold out, I should say. Gives us a little bit of an extra out. Like part of the upside case with Burton is the potentiality of T. Higgins holding out or getting traded. And we're kind of betting against that. So theoretically prefer Burton on my Chase teams rather than my Higgins teams. It's kind of a minor thing, not a huge factor for me.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert falling a little bit. I guess not that far. All right, we'll go Musgrave.
Let's do it. All right,
There
can
we
you
go.
give me 1
So,
second? I'm sorry.
yeah, go ahead. I'll read off the team. while giving Scott the second. We got Joe Burrow and Jordan Love at quarterback. Probably done at quarterback. I like that. I think that's a really strong quarterback room. Running back, we have Isaiah Pacheco, Ramondre Stevenson, Rico Dowdle. Wide receiver, we have Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Michael Pittman, T. Higgins, Dontavian Wicks. Tight end, we have George Kittle and Luke Musgrave. So pretty strong team. I like the way this one's shaping up. This is a more comfortable construction than the last one for me.
I've got a question for your loyal commenters.
Yeah.
So I just wrapped up a podcast video yesterday. Should be out on Friday. Basically, like my master class on how to dominate a dynasty league. If you've never played before, what is dynasty? What is my preferred strategy? How do you build a dynasty in dynasty where you just win 10 years in a row? And I'm just curious if any of your listeners want to hear Neil and I do some dynasty content where we talked about maybe as a 2025 thing, but I know you're inexperienced with dynasty, but we do some shows on dynasty and then we do a dynasty startup draft. You maybe could raffle off some spots to your listeners and then do like some video content for it. But I know we talked about that yesterday.
Yeah, I know this is a question for the listeners, not for me. So I'm also curious here if people would be into it. Yeah, like you said, I don't have a lot of experience with Dynasty. It's one of those things that like I've always wanted to do. Or I mean, it used to be even a bigger thing for me. Like I want to do like the 32 teams, like super deep stuff. Like I've always been like super into like getting really into the weeds with it. So I think Dynasty, and I no longer really have the capacity for like the actual doing 32 teams deep. Taking players every position, but I think a dynasty is still like a deep enough dive kind of thing that it would be pretty fun. So yeah,
I'm in a dynasty league longstanding with El Jefe, the Siege, Davis Maddock.
Burton goes. That is painful.
That's fine.
It's not fine.
Okay, you're right.
All right, who do we want here though?
I like TJ Hawkinson's upside for the second half.
I mean, I guess we already have Kittle and Musgrave. I guess we can. We're obviously done at tight end there if we go Hawkinson. Also makes sense for our build as a bring back. So screw it. Let's do it. I don't have a lot of Hawkinson. I've been like a little bit afraid of he's going to miss half the season and then he's going to come back to a rookie quarterback he's never played with before and maybe still a little bit banged up.
I mean, dude, he smashed with like 4 different shitty tight ends quarterbacks.
That is true.
I think he's the perfect fit for a team like this where you're not really relying on him. And then if you get Spike Weeks, that's huge. Where he could also contribute in the flex. So
all right, we got some answers. Meatwad says hell yeah. Beast Perf says haven't played Dynasty in years. So I don't know if that means he would be in or he just doesn't want the content. Hooter, Holler, Lundar sounds cool. Hell yeah. All right.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's just, I mean, you've got DFS on lock. You've got best ball on lock. You're gonna do any redraft content like a FFPC?
I don't know. I've never done high stakes redraft. I'm in several redraft leagues. I've never done high stakes, and I really enjoy redraft. I just it has never been. I've never done redraft content, so maybe I guess I hadn't thought about doing redraft content just because I'm so focused on best ball and DFS right now. I mean, mostly best ball for the content, but maybe I could do some redraft content. I do enjoy redraft. Hoosier says, this is Scott. I don't know if you know the story. Neil, you remember that Dynasty League Bindles invited us to that was already full? That was neat. Did I tell that story the last time you were on the stream?
It was an all-time flex from Bindles.
Yeah, that was a great flex. I do remember it. I'm still stung by that a little bit. That's my one hesitation is the Dynasty crowd just seems like they're just cutthroat. They're just they're not here for us. So I don't feel very welcomed by the Dynasty crowd after getting big time by Bindles. All right, so we have 2-3-5-3.
I like Aaron Rodgers at value. I don't know that we need him. Can you just click on go position by position, running back, wide receiver, tight end?
Running back, Kamani Vidal, Jaleel McLaughlin, Bucky Irving. We'll move him in there.
Irving solid. Honestly, J.K. Dobbins isn't terrible, but wide receiver.
Troy Franklin, who would be a bringback for us. Marvin Mims.
Marvin Mims is my guy, but he scares me. Pop Douglas, I think, is okay.
All right, we went to Jaleel McLaughlin, who also works as a bring back for the Cincinnati stack. Just run out of time there. We did need a running back, so I think that makes sense for us. You said Mims is your guy. He just went. Okay.
Yeah, he was my guy coming out of college. You have to admit it's a little scary now, because he's competing for targets with
Franklin.
Troy Franklin. There's a lot of redundancy there, but also the guy they brought in from Detroit, whose name I'm blanking on. I told you.
Josh Reynolds.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so bad with names. Demarcus Robinson, and then
Yep.
click on. We're good at tight end. Yeah.
Yeah, we're good at tight end.
Never click on tight end again. Thank you.
Never doing it. We're done at tight end. I think we're probably done at quarterback too. You keep on wanting to draft Rodgers, but I feel like we just don't need him on this team. Like I get it. Like you just love the value for Rodgers, but like for this team, I feel like we gotta jam.
So I had a scheduled tweet that was, maybe I'm just underrating how cursed the Jets are as a franchise, but they are far and away the best bet to win Super Bowl, and Aaron Rodgers is far and away the best bet to win MVP. And I believe that. Just real quick, winning MVP is different than fantasy points per game. Like I think he has a better chance of winning MVP than being like a fantasy league winner. So I had that tweet scheduled, and then, like the day it was supposed to go out, I like checked the odds, and their odds actually ended up jumping from by plus 600, something like that. Cause they have a really favorable schedule. I still think that's true. Like the last 2 seasons, Aaron Rodgers was healthy. He won MVP with Nathaniel Hackett and like a comparable receiving core. And then he played the entire year with a broken thumb to his throwing hand, and he threw 1 pass attempt. The Jets have maybe the best defense in football. They had the worst quarterback play in football, and like still almost made the playoffs. So I really believe that. The one thing there is coming back from Achilles, and like the offensive line isn't great, but really wouldn't shock me if the Jets win the Super Bowl this year. That's how good that defense is. That's how good Aaron Rodgers can be. And I do like his value. He's not must draft, but it's not significantly better at cost than like a Kirk Cousins or Tua or whoever else we've talked about, but he's just a good value as a QB3.
Yeah, he's definitely a pretty solid value there. It's funny. I have not drafted a ton of Aaron Rodgers. I think I'm like, I don't know. I don't draft a ton of Garrett Wilson, which I feel like I would want Aaron Rodgers on any Garrett Wilson team pretty clearly. Maybe I'll start getting more. I do kind of like the backstack with Malachi Corley and Conklin. Like sort of makes some sense to me. Demarcus Robinson goes. We go Pop Douglas.
I can't believe we get sniped there.
I know. It's TM Long. He is now Mr. has now sniped us twice.
Oh, Conklin's there. I do like Conklin. He just doesn't make sense.
On this team we don't need him.
Yeah, I guess Pop Douglas.
You're not a big Wandale guy, which I had the conversation yesterday with Bindles about Wandale.
Well, you know this, Neil. How many times did I shit all over Chalk Wandale Robinson, and like what he hit once the entire year? And it was fluky. Yeah, to me, Malik Neighbors, who I think is a much better pick at cost than Marvin Harrison Jr., he's going to be the Giants' clear wide receiver 1, doing wide receiver 1 things. But then he could also do all the Wandale Robinson stuff at a way higher level than Wandale Robinson. So to me, it just seems like Robinson's redundant. And he's like a floor guy. This is best ball. We're spike weeks we're talking about, and we have 5 really good wide receivers.
See, my whole thing with Wandale Robinson is I know that he's not big on splash plays, and I made this point yesterday. But I feel like he's a floor guy in the sense that like he's not going to get there on one play, but like we saw it happen last year. So I guess we have seen it, last season. He can still get there. He can still have spike weeks just based on like 6 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown, or 8 catches for 60 yards, whatever. Like I feel like I think that there is still potential for a few spike weeks there if he does get the volume, and he's been getting volume. So I don't know. I think I'm higher on Wandale than you are. But I get it. He's definitely not a splash play kind of guy.
Dortch is kind of nice, right? Who's their wide receivers outside of Marvin Harrison Jr., Dortch, and Michael Wilson?
Zay Jones they added.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I draft some Dortch. I liked him better, obviously, before they drafted Zay.
Well, he's also one of my guys, like Elijah and Judy, where I was like, he should not be a UDFA. I know Kyler just said if he was 6'2", he'd be a top 3 wide
Yeah,
receiver, which is
he
ironic.
did.
Kyler's 5'10".
Yeah. Well, Kyler also thinks that if Kyler were 6'2", he would be the best quarterback in the world. Maybe that's the point he's making. We need at least probably 2 more running backs. Braylon Allen goes. Tyrone Tracy we could get here.
Yeah,
Eli
you know,
Mitchell.
I like Tracy and like the Art Stapleton tweet I just referenced.
Yeah. All right. Should we just do it?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right. We go Tracy. So we are at 2-5-6-2. So we have 2 more picks. I think that we're done at tight end and quarterback most likely. So it's just going to be running back, wide receiver here. We have Joe Burrow, Jordan Love at quarterback. At running back, we have Isaiah Pacheco, Ramondre Stevenson, Rico Dowdle, Jaleel McLaughlin, Tyrone Tracy. Wide receiver, we have Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Michael Pittman, T. Higgins, Dontavian Wicks, Demario Douglas. And at tight end, we have George Kittle, Luke Musgrave, TJ Hawkinson. So yeah, I think it's just
getting some hype.
Do you like Tolbert? I'll throw him in there.
Not really, but he's getting some hype.
All right. Let's scroll through. So the running backs, and I've started some.
Slayton's not terrible.
I
like him more than Wandale.
All right.
He has spike week upside, right?
He does. He does have spike week upside. Jalen McMillan. How do you feel about Jalen McMillan? I think you mentioned that you liked him better than Burton as a prospect. Is that right? Or maybe better than somebody else?
No, I really like Jermaine Burton. I liked him better as a prospect than Polk. The way they talked about him too is exactly all the arguments I made were the arguments they made. They want him to get playing right away. There's some uncertainty because some beat writers are talking about Godwin going back to the slot full time, which would suck for him. I think they want him as their full-time slot. And in which case, like, he'd be a really good pick.
I bet Theacon is going to take him anyway. McMillan. Because he just took Baker.
Oh, okay.
So it makes sense for him.
Yeah, I like McMillan a lot. And just hopefully.
Do we have any other correlations we need to? All right. So we have Burrow. Do we have any Denver late pieces we like, or Minnesota?
Smart way to think about it. I don't know. Denver's a big headache, I think.
I think we could still take Josh Reynolds, I guess, potentially if we wanted to.
But even then, it's like, what if Mims is as good as I wanted him to be? What if Franklin, you have the instant rapport with Bo Nix?
Right. Nobody's safe. I don't think like we could do the bring back thing, and I don't know. Might not be the best for this team. I like it better. Like, I guess it is kind of one long tier here, so maybe it would make sense to add Josh Reynolds here. I don't know. We'll see what's available to us. Tyler Boyd, I feel like, has been getting some hype. It's I think mostly anti-Treylon Burks hype. So I think Tyler Boyd is kind of rising up as we learn that Treylon Burks is officially he's just a special teams guy.
Yeah, he stinks. I've maintained he stinks since before he was drafted.
I remember you were talking. You told me that last year. Oh, Eli Moore is one of your guys. We'll throw him on there. So I think
he's one of my guys. I don't know that he's someone I'm trying to draft.
Okay, fair enough. I do think we need one more running back too. So let's just go over the running backs real quickly. Deontay Foreman we could take with this pick. CEH you said is not one of your guys. Keaton Mitchell sounds like he's not one of your guys. Alexander Madison they say is just a depth piece. Oh, Estime.
What if Miles Sanders goes to Dallas? No, it's Estime by a landslide. And then hopefully it's not Blake Watson as the Joker and Javonte as the.
Yeah. All right. Should we go Estime here and push wide receiver?
Yeah. You could add Mac Hollins to wide receiver.
Tell me about your Mac Hollins love.
It's really just when the Bills drafted Keon Coleman, the GM started naming off the wide receivers, and he just started with Mac Hollins, and he spent 2 minutes on Mac Hollins, and he's like, oh, there's also Khalil Shakir entering year 3. And who else? Oh, Curtis Samuel's there. And yeah. And so it's just weird the way he kind of prioritized that. Curtis Samuel was one of the worst wide receivers in football last year. Khalil Shakir, I think, has cleared 30 routes, maybe only 3 times in his career. Chase Claypool is Chase Claypool. It's Josh Allen throwing the ball. Tons of targets available. I don't think he's anything special, but I like that argument, and I like the fact that he goes undrafted in 90% of leagues. So, And like, look at our wide receivers. Like we don't really need depth at wide receiver. And like all these players are depth pieces.
Yeah, we have Jefferson, Adams, Pittman, Higgins. Yeah, we are pretty strong. Any Chase Claypool, I assume, was added after they talked about Matt Collins. Do you have any concern about Chase Claypool eating into him?
I mean, it could be. That's the thing. There's just a lot of uncertainty there, which is why all these guys are cheap. But I
Yeah,
mean, Claypool was like the most hated man of wide receiver coaches league wide for I don't know how many years now.
yeah,
But what about Darius Slayton?
yeah. He is the top of the ranks here.
He's had 700 plus yards in back to back seasons. No one else in this range can say that.
Yeah, I mean they added Malik Neighbors, so there's that concern. But
Yeah, but he's a starter. Like,
yeah,
because Neighbors was slot only in college. So that, what if he's slot only for the Giants? That destroys Wandale, but Slayton's fine.
Slayton also some correlation there with Pittman in Week 17.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, let's do it.
Boom, killed it.
Done, killed it.
Wow. So we have this one's gonna win 1.5 million. The other one's
Better than the last one, I think.
Yeah,
better correlated overall. Like lots of correlation for Week 17 in this one.
I know you love that.
I do. I'm a fan. I just read the. Actually, didn't finish it yet, but I started reading the Leone update on his running the ETR sims, and they were really big on Week 17 game stacks. Did seem to be something that their sims found to be very plus EV. So, and the more game stacked quarterbacks you have, the better in general you did in the sims, which I thought was fascinating. So I'm trying to focus a little bit more. I'm still more focused on my just like primary quarterback, wide receiver, tight end stacks, but trying to build those in where I can. I think we did a good job of it in this one. A lot of correlative pieces here. Yeah, this is a beautiful team.
You don't have to keep drafting. This is the first place team.
We done did it. It's going to be JJ McCarthy is going to throw 2 touchdowns to TJ Hawkinson in Week 17, but still going to be on. It has not updated here yet. Still going to be outscored by the Jordan Love and to Dontavian Wicks and Luke Musgrave stack. Although the Vikings are going to win the game. All right. So we get Joe Burrow and Jordan Love are our quarterbacks. Running back, we have Isaiah Pacheco, Ramondre Stevenson, Rico Dowdle, Jaleel McLaughlin, Tyrone Tracy, Audric Estime. At wide receiver, we have Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Michael Pittman, T. Higgins, Dontavian Wicks, Demario Douglas, Darius Slayton. And at tight end, we have George Kittle, Luke Musgrave, and TJ Hawkinson. From a correlation standpoint, we have Joe Burrow going to T. Higgins, just a single stack there. And then we have the bring back of Jaleel McLaughlin. And then we have Jordan Love to Dontavian Wicks and Luke Musgrave. We have TJ Hawkinson and Justin Jefferson as bringbacks. We're just hoping for a big old Minnesota Green Bay dome game, 70 point, just going to crush it in Week 17. I really like this team. I think it's a really strong team, Scott. You're just vaping as I was talking about this, so I suppose I got to give you a second.
What was that? Sorry.
You were vaping, so I got to give you. I like the team. That's all I'm saying. I like the team. I think we're well correlated throughout. Great. Looks like a great team to me.
This is why you got to push back on me when I try and tell you to draft running backs in the first 5 rounds.
That's right. It just looks so much prettier when we don't. My only regret here, Scott, is that we did not get Jermaine Burton. But I'll live with it. I'll live with no Jermaine Burton. I think the team ended up looking pretty good anyway.
Yeah.
Who did we end up getting with that pick? So we were hoping to get Jermaine Burton at 150. So we ended up taking TJ Hawkinson there. Yeah, that could play. I think I'm okay with that. I don't draft a lot of Hawkinson, but Hawkinson at 150 starting to feel okay there.
It's really good upside. Yeah. Tell me how this wins Week 17 again, one more time.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be 70 points in the dome. It's going to be Jordan Love throwing for 4 touchdowns. 2 of them are going to go, of course, to Dontavian Wicks. 2 are going to go to Luke Musgrave. We're also going to have the Vikings who are going to actually outscore the Packers, but it's going to be 1 receiving, 1 rushing touchdown for Justin Jefferson, plus 2 touchdowns for TJ Hawkinson. Just going to go off in that game. The
how Vikings, many pick sixes for Jair?
0 pick sixes for Jair Alexander.
Wow.
Yeah, because the Vikings are actually going to win that game. I want to be clear about that. The Vikings are going to win the game.
Your Vikings.
My Vikings are going to win the game. But the Packers offense is still going to put up a good number of points. It's going to be fun, had all around. And then, of course, Cincinnati, Denver. Cincinnati is just going to eat it up. They're going to just crush Denver. It's going to be Burrow to Higgins all day. Chase, unfortunately, will be dealing with some shin splints. He's going to have to miss that game. Some turf toe. He's going to miss the game with some turf toe. Jaleel McLaughlin, of course, is going to be the starting running back by that point for Denver. So he's going to put up a couple touchdowns. It's going to be fun all around. We're just going to crush it.
I love it. What do we do when we win 1.5 million and split it?
We're going to go on a vacation. We're going to go to, I don't know, where do you want to go? We'll bring it'll be wives at that point. You will be married by then.
That's right.
So we'll bring our wives on this vacation. We'll go to somewhere tropical, I think. I don't know.
The Galapagos Islands.
I've never been to the Galapagos Islands.
They have giant turtles, which seem really cool.
We could go ride some turtles in the Galapagos Islands. Hell yeah. That's the plan when we win.
And we'll do some live streams there.
Yeah, we'll live stream from the Galapagos Islands. That'll be at that point it'll be best ball season 2025 will already be in the works at that point, the way things are going on Underdog. Just every year the contests get earlier and earlier, so that'll be fun. And Hoosier says, yeah, start an exclusive dynasty league with the money. Yeah, and of course, no Bindles. We will not invite Bindles, or no, we will invite him, but only after it has filled. Is what we're going to do. We're going to fill the league, and then we're going to invite Bindles to the league. All right, we are not going to have time, I don't think, to read off every team here to give full evals of them. I will say this: if you want your team to be evaluated, come join me in the Flannelverse Discord. The link is in the description of this video. You post in there, I'll review it. Other people in there reviewing it as well. It's a good time. So join the Flannelverse Discord. And Scott, I know you have your ADP value articles coming out. You said that's coming out in what, a week? Is it coming out this week?
Yeah, either later this week or early next week. Definitely be on the lookout for that. You're going to want as many of those players on your teams as possible. Again, I think that's the most important thing. I think that's even more important than week 17 stacking is just drafting the key power law players. And I'm seeing quite a few power law players who just can totally carry you through to the playoffs. And then who's most likely to put up the most points in the playoff weeks? It's the players who probably did it in the regular season. The best value picks at cost with immense underrated upside. And so be on the lookout for that.
Hell yeah. And that's Scott will post it on his Twitter. It's at Scott Barrett DFB on Twitter. So go check that out. Scott will post the article when it posts. Is it going to be, I assume that one's going to be paywalled?
I don't know. That's up to our editor. Probably at least one of them is going to be paywalled. So make sure you're subscribed to fantasypoints.com. Use promo code flannel. If you want to spell it with one N, that counts. That's an active coupon code for Neil. If you want to spell it the correct way with two N's, that works equally as well.
Yeah, however you want to spell flannel, it'll come. I will get credit for that. So yeah, go check it out. You'll get 15% off your purchase using promo code flannel for any Fantasy Points product. But make sure you're following Scott at Scott Barrett DFB. I will be back tomorrow with Stephanie Miller is going to join me for a stream same time tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do a couple drafts. That should be a good time. Thank you all for Beast Pro. Oh, I don't know if we got flannel. That is a good point. I don't know if we got flannel in there. No, thank you all for hanging out with us. This was a lot of fun. Thank you to Scott for joining us always. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, etc., etc. Thanks, guys. Catch you later.